Right, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah. Sorry, that's probably me being naughty and not muting the video that I had open and liking our own stream to build up the numbers.
We could get 4 likes. We could get 4 likes. Do it.
Anyway, so as probably most of you have realized, the discussion today is going to be probably a hot potato, hot topic that is very current, and I think that we are all, I'm sure, aware of. And I think if anyone isn't aware of what's happening in the UK, then you must be either living on a desert island somewhere, and in that case you're probably not watching this stream, or you've been asleep for the last few days. And I'm sure that that's probably a very rare scenario. Now, alhamdulillah, today we've invited Brother Dawi down as well, and Brother Jordan, to get some white faces on here as well, to make people happy, but hopefully give people a view of perhaps people who might have been sympathetic to the sort of views that we have Tommy and the like having, and perhaps an insight on perhaps what made them change their mind, or what made them look at things differently. Of course, they might not have supported them, and I don't know, so we'll ask them hopefully in due course. But it is a hot topic, and the main issue really around this is that we have somebody called Tommy Robinson that I'm sure most of us know, who is and has been with a group of others like Katie Hopkins and Douglas Murray's and Ian Hirsi's and all of these sort of pundits and many people in the media who've sort of regurgitated the sort of same stuff that Tommy has been saying. And the question really arises, are people like Tommy true patriots to England? Are they actually thinking about what is best for this country, best for its people? Are they people who are spreading stability? Are they people who are wanting the country to flourish, to do well, for people to live in peace and in harmony? Are they really interested in protecting the vulnerable? White girls, black girls, Asian boys, white boys? Or are they actually unpatriotic in their views and in their actions? And I think this is a very important thing to discuss, because for a lot of people that do support Tommy Robinson, he is seen as this sort of archetype of what it is to be British, standing up for British values and a true patriot. And that's how people see him. And I think there's a lot of evidence, actually, an awful lot of evidence to suggest otherwise. And we'd be happy to have people from the right wing coming on here telling us why you think Tommy is patriotic, why you think he's good for the country and good for English people, or why he's not. It'd be interesting to have those views. So you're welcome to come on the stream. This is one of the perhaps few streams where you can actually come and have a nice discussion. We're not here to bash people or insult people or cut you off from making a good argument or providing us with some good evidence that you have that would actually persuade us. We're actually open to that. So be brave and come onto the stream. Don't just be keyboard warriors. and come on and let's have a chat. Now we're going to put the link out pretty soon, and you're able to just click on that link and come straight backstage. Please have your cameras on so we can identify and interact with you, and then we'll get you straight onto the panel and we'll have that discussion. Brother Jordan, Brother Imran, and Brother Dowie, any comments before we start letting the guests on as soon as they enter the studio?
Well, I would just like to when you said Tommy Robinson as a patriot, I mean, people have different ideas what is and what isn't a patriot. His followers or his supporters would probably say that he's standing up for, the culture. I mean, this is a culture thing more than anything, isn't it? So he's standing up to preserve the culture of the people, to protect the people. But by inciting riots, it doesn't seem very patriotic to me. And based upon who I think or who we know is funding him, then how can you be patriotic?
I mean, he's obviously claiming from holiday on text messages and WhatsApp messages that I didn't tell anyone to do a riot. I haven't said to anyone that they've got to do this. I just called for a demonstration. I'm just
but they speak in codes, don't they?
Yeah. I'm just an innocent.
It's like Nigel Farage.
Yeah.
He spoke in codes. I don't think we're being told the whole truth. So you don't trust the police, you don't trust the judicial system, you don't trust the judges. You think because he said he listened to an Andrew Tate interview or an Andrew Tate video that we're not being told the whole truth. When they say things like that, they know exactly how people are gonna read that. Yeah. They're not stupid. Don't ever think Tommy Robinson is stupid. He's far from it. He's very intelligent, unfortunately. For a cokehead.
Jordan, any thoughts? Dr. Imran, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this stream. I mean, firstly, obviously, Dowie I don't know if you mind me saying, from the same town as Tommy and has sort of, come through and knows a lot about this topic. So it'd be interesting, obviously, Imran and Abbas giants on this topic as well, which I'm looking forward to. I think for me, it'd be great to have people on because I feel like if I ask four of these, Tommy Patriots, what they're protesting or writing about, I feel like I get 4 different answers. Islamification of the country, immigration, establishment, 2-tier policing. We're saving our girls is a big narrative. Very strong narratives pushed, they're basically being lied to. These people are being lied to by Tommy that, the boogeyman's coming over, take their kids, take their culture, take their country. And of course, we know that England is now a vast mixture of cultures. And so firstly, I just want to explain that, these Tommy guys, no disrespect for them, but they are a minority. They are not representative of British people. British people, you can see now if you just click on the live streams of the anti-protests, vastly outnumbering the sort of, and I don't really want to call them racist goons because I think this stream is about. I think some of them are probably people with genuine concerns that feel like they're not listened to. We're going through a horrible cost of living crisis. People are going through, I have family members going through a similar thing. And so I think some people are really disgruntled and they're being misdirected. Some people are just there because they love, they're a bit racist. They miss the football season's not on, and they want to go and tear things up. I hope we get some sincere people on that genuinely want to be listened to. We have Muslims on the panel that can maybe answer the questions. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I think it's well said. And Dr. Imran, I mean, anything you'd like to add to that, so?
No, I think the brothers have said, really what was on my mind. I think that I'd love to get into the mindset of people who are either thinking the rioters are correct in what they're doing, or if there's, we've had this sort of narrative of legitimate concerns, whatever that means. Let's talk about some of the legitimate concerns that you might have and actually how you go about dealing with them. And let's get into the nitty-gritty. I'd really want to understand, and then we can maybe try and move from there. So
yeah,
I mean, I don't think that the things that are being pushed out in social media are something that we can rely on, and we know that as being a fact because lots of the things that we used to sort of rile people up were completely untrue. And even though they've remained untrue, people are still angry about the same things that were falsely made to rile people up with. So let's have a conversation. Let's get into the mindset of these things. Let's see who is going to be defending this, and let's see why.
Yeah, it's a good point. Ijaz, welcome to the stream. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. I've been looking forward to this stream because I don't live in the UK, but the sentiments in the UK are also found in Canada, or it's beginning to be found in Canada. And there's a very strong anti-immigrant experience here, but it's more targeted towards the Sikh people and Indian kids who come here for school, much less so against the Muslims like it is in the UK. But I hope you guys know that Tommy was here in Canada. He was arrested on an immigration violation, and the lady which hosted him did an interview and basically said he did coke and drugs and visited a an inappropriate place while he was in Montreal, and they set up the whole immigration problem so that they can raise funds to pay for his trip to Canada. That's with Ezra Levant. So I'm interested in seeing um, just how people who believe in his message uh, can make sense of his behavior, his ethics, his morals, when he's not just poison in the UK, but I think Canada and Australia as well.
Yeah, but also I heard, Ijaz, that apparently the number of tickets that were sold for the event was so low.
Like 50.
Yeah.
They
So-
gave away tickets
So
as
the
well.
lady said that the organizer, she said that he deliberately got himself arrested
Yes.
so he could get out of having to be embarrassed by just 50 people showing up. And so it was a way of covering his tracks. And obviously then everyone said, oh, she's a liar and she's just lying. And, our poor Tommy got done over and all this sort of nonsense, right?
Yeah.
But look, I mean, I'm just wondering where all the right-wing Tommy supporters are, because none of you have really shown up yet. We're 11 minutes in, and I thought, Muslims are prepared to hear your arguments and your grievances and all the things that Tommy has told you about what Muslims are about and what Tommy is saving you from. And I thought you'd probably be able to come here and air your views, but we'll see if people are brave and hopefully they decide to come on. We're not here to bash you. We're not here to make you look silly or embarrass you. We're not here to, to make you look, in any particular way. We'd like to hear what you have to say, and we'd like to hopefully have that discussion with you. So be brave. We've got the link out. As soon as you click the link, you'll come backstage and we can have that discussion. Now, I would say Tommy, actually, for me, is very unpatriotic, because some of the things that make a person unpatriotic is if, for example, they're taking money from foreign governments, for example, or think tanks that are being funded by foreign governments. Or I would say if you do criminal activity, I think that would be something that I would consider to be unpatriotic. So if you do fraud, for example, or you break the rules of the land, I think that is being unpatriotic. Now, unfortunately for Tommy, of course, he's actually guilty of all of these things.
And worse.
And a lot worse, actually. You're right. So I would argue that actually Tommy is very unpatriotic to the people of this country and to this land. I don't think he respects the law. I don't think he respects the judiciary. I don't think he respects the police, because he calls them two-tier policing. In other words, these people are not genuine. They're not. Our police are
unless
not.
it's Manchester Airport. Unless it's Manchester Airport.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So he basically denigrates the police. He denigrates the legal system in this country. And he denigrates large swathes of the population in this country who actually call him out. And he commits all these illegal criminal acts. Now, to me, I would hope that people would think, actually, if I'm funding Tommy and he's snorting cocaine with my money and going off on holidays and visiting brothels and stuff like that, do I really want to be funding somebody like that? Do I really think somebody like that is actually a patriot?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the
point, because that point about and it just talks about it as well. Imagine the guy that held up the grooming gang scandal and the man that's protecting our kids is visiting a brothel where they traffic
women,
young
girls.
Women. He's funding sex trafficking, and so people coming on. How do you hold this man up? Now, go on, Abbas. Go on. I'll let you finish. You're muted.
No, sorry, you're absolutely right, Jordan. And what really does surprise me is some of our Christian friends who are openly supporting and meeting Tommy Robinson. We've seen them at Speaker's Corner as well. You know, very cushy with Tommy Robinson, and that includes some of the Zionist organizations and Zionists who come to Speaker's Corner, for example. Very, very cushy with Tommy Robinson. They love him. To me, this is unpatriotic, quite frankly. These people are not patriots. Darry, you want to say something?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of points I'd just like to make. There's a lot of English people, British, whatever people out there that don't agree with Tommy Robinson at all as a person, but he says certain things that they agree with. So we have to separate. They would not like him either. That's why they don't follow him or support him. But he seems to speak where there's a void. Wherever there's a void, someone has to fill it or something has to fill it. And I think that these other groups that you're talking about, the Christians that are aligning themselves with him and the Zionists and everyone else, what we got to understand here, brothers, is this is my enemy's enemy is my friend, my ally, even temporarily.
Yeah.
Even temporarily. They got very little in common, the people. So there is, back in the 1970s and 80s, when I was growing up, there was the National Front.
Yeah.
And it was a big thing. You know, it was like, but it was clear. It was just racist. There weren't no confusion. There weren't no ulterior. They just didn't like people. You know what I mean? And you kind of knew where you stood. If you was black or brown, then they didn't like you. That's it. Nice and simple.
Yeah.
Top shelf racism. You know, not this confusing stuff that we got now. But this stuff that now where Tommy is that everyone that's racist hates Islam, but not everyone that hates Islam is racist. Okay, so we have this thing now where the Christians will latch onto him because he's got the same enemy as them. The Zionists, he's got the same enemy. The this, the that, whoever else is in the mix will latch on with him, or he will latch on with them. They're like leeches to each other because they have a common enemy at the moment. And then eventually they'll self-implode because none of them like each other. But they have a common enemy. So now we have two types of people that hate us. Racists that hate us and hate Islam, or hate brown people, black people, and Islam, and any white person that's in it, even more. And then you've got people that are not racist, but they just hate Islam.
Yeah.
So there's an alliance now.
Yeah.
So this is why.
So they're using one another. Basically, they're all using each other.
Well, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Your enemy's enemy is your temporary friend.
There was that interview that Tommy did with an Indian news channel saying that when it comes to anti-immigration, it's only against Muslims, but he would welcome Hindu and Indian migration to the UK. So I mean, do these people who support him support that statement? Because the thing is, for me, he's grifting from the Indians in that position. That's not something I think he would repeat in the UK, right? It's like he changes his face wherever he goes. And whoever can donate or give him money, these types of things, he'll grift for it.
Yeah. And you know, when you saw the videos of people getting punched in the face when they were trying to walk past, they weren't even identified as Muslim.
If you're brown,
they were just Asian brown people, or black people, and they were getting attacked. Now, are they asking them, mate, are you Muslim? Oh no, you're not. Okay, I'm not going to punch you in the. No, they were just punching them in the face. So, I mean, to say that, quite frankly, you know, I'm sorry. And you know, a lot of this stuff that we hear that, well, I'm not racist. I'm not trying to make people do stuff like that, mate. If you light a match, and then the whole of the haystack goes up in flames, you have to share in that responsibility of what's just happened. You can't wash your hands. If you say certain things and you know that the effects of those things are going to be what they are, you can't wash your hands from those effects. You are partly responsible or wholly responsible.
That's unless you're Lawrence Fox and you flee, I think, to Ireland or something at that point. He tried to wash his hands off of the inflammatory things he said. I do believe there's someone backstage who says they can't show their face. That's no problem on the stream, but behind the stream, we do need to verify you before we bring you on.
Yeah, so Tommy's cousin, you do need to show yourself on backstage where nobody else can see you, but that is our security, so you don't put anything on the screen that is potentially illegal or unlawful or breaks the rules of YouTube and has our channel potentially harmed. So you're more than welcome to come and switch your camera off just before we get you on live, but you will most definitely not get onto the show if you don't identify yourself and interact with us, so we're able to identify you if something goes wrong in the future. So that's for legal reasons. But I'm going to get Pastor Jason Burns on, because Pastor Jason Burns is Christian, and he might have some insight on some of the things that we've said and some of the things that we're going through at the moment. Pastor Jason Burns, welcome to the stream.
Hi, folks. God bless you. Yeah, it's good
How
to
are
see
you,
you all.
How are you, Pastor Jason Burns?
I'm okay, thanks. I've had a lovely day. I've had some friends from college when I was 20 years ago at seminary. Had them round. It was great. It's been a good day.
Lovely, lovely. And what would you like to
Yeah.
contribute to today's show?
I think a couple of things. I think it's the history of Britain, where we are at the moment. We're in an existential crisis spiritually. That's what I think, and I think that the nation has got rid of God, and the nation's imploding morally, and there's a crisis of identity in the nation, and people are seeking their identity. And in terms of Tommy Robinson, I think you have to look at the history of how he started. I think it's too simplistic to demonize individuals. I think it's a bit more complex than that.
What?
Why did he start? Why did he start the way he started? Can anyone remember why he started?
Yeah. I can. Well, from what he
Can
said,
anybody
from what I
remember
know from my own town. Yeah.
It was the burning of the poppies, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, the burning of the poppies. So
it was way before that.
Go on, Dowie.
It was before that. It was before, because he's from Luton, isn't he? So
Yeah.
he had Tommy Robinson, traditionally speaking, always had problems with Pakistani youths in the same town, in Luton. Okay, they never really got on. Let's just say he had some Pakistani friends, of course, but there was conflicts between him and a couple of gangs of Pakistani youths that were around him. I think they were called the Yellows, and another gang was called the Gambinos. And he would always have his to and fro in with them. So his dislike probably goes way back before that, because when they burnt the poppies, there was a demonstration with the Al Marjaroon group and the returning soldiers, and the Al Marjaroon done a demonstration there, and it was a ridiculous thing for them to do anyway. They started a load of trouble. Tommy was already down there with his friends. They already knew about it. They was already there that day in the town centre.
Well,
so
all I know, I've watched. Yeah, that's what you're saying. But I've watched a lot of people can go back to his interviews, and the evidence of his interviews. The interview when he was on Newsnight with Jeremy Paxman and things like that. From his own words, what he was upset about was the fact that the soldiers were not respected when they were coming home. That's from his own words.
Yeah, he was.
So
that was one of the
that's
things.
That's where I'm coming from. You're saying things about, but you can criticize someone and you can say things about his past, but I'm saying what's been publicly in the public sphere of what's been said.
Yeah, but Jason,
because I could say things about you about. Yeah. I could say things.
Yeah, Jason. The point I'm trying to make.
I can.
Jason, the question I want to ask you is, if a bunch of idiots do something stupid, is that a justification for becoming a racist, a bigot, an Islamophobe, spreading lies, and effectively creating disharmony within society? Is there ever a justification for doing that? Because look, I as a Muslim can say, and many scholars did say, and many Muslims did say, that this is simply not allowed to be doing this within the Islamic context. You shouldn't be doing this. You should not be antagonizing people.
I hear what you're saying.
So the point I'm trying to make.
What you're saying. Let me just tell you something.
Abbas, can I piggyback on the back of your point as well? Because obviously we're talking about individuals doing heinous things, and I don't know if Pastor Burns is aware that mosques are being bricked, and even his Christian brown brothers are in the street being beaten up currently. Are you aware of that, Jason?
I'm aware of everything. I watch the news. I watch all the news. I watch Any form of violence
we now know
is
that
to
the
be
killer of
condemned.
the South. We now know the Southport person that actually did the killing was Christian. So how would it, if we were suddenly to come to you and ask you
Right.
to explain why are Christian people killing people in the street?
Right. Can I give my point of view? First of all, if you're going to be a leader in a nation, you're going to be a prime minister, you got to build unity within the nation, right? That's the first thing. To demonize a large section of the British society and call them right wing was the most disgraceful thing that's happened in British society for the last 20 years. What Keir Starmer did. Yeah, there is a minority of people who were violent, and they are to be condemned, and the law is to be dealt. The law is to come down upon them. However, there was many people who have been angry about a long progression of things that's been happening in this country, mass immigration, the white working class who have been ignored by the social champagne socialists. They've ignored the white working class, and that anger has been building up. And so you can't demonize a whole section of society. So I totally agree with you. Condemn violence 100%. It's not justified, and people have to be wise with their language and not stir up animosity. But secondly, when Starmer said that, he created two standing armies when he said that, because what he did there, when Nelson Mandela came out of prison, he could have been bitter, but he tried to get everyone to be united. Starmer had an opportunity to unite the country, but instead he divided the country by demonizing large sections of the community. He created a two-standing army. There were Muslims. No, listen. Let me finish, because you want a free speech. You can have your say. Let me finish.
You're straw manning.
There were people attacking hotels. There were people smashing windows. Many of them doing violent thuggery things like that. It was absolutely disgraceful. It was disgusting, and the law should come down on them. But at the same time, and it's on Newsnight, it was on Sky News, where they were condemning those people smashing windows, and then there were Muslim gangs walking with machetes and knives, and the camera came off. There were Muslims in Birmingham beating people up in the pubs, all dressed in black, all wearing a uniform.
So, yeah, Jason,
so now
this
you've
is
created
incorrect.
division.
Jason, this is incorrect.
No, it is not correct.
Let me
all
state,
there in the media.
We let you speak, so let me respond. You have the incident of one person on Sky News brandishing a weapon, and you're saying there was a gang of people carrying weapons. Totally false.
No,
just
no,
one
it's not
person.
true.
Just one person on that stream, on that show.
It's
Secondly, you're also wrong.
It's not
You
true
made
at
you
all.
made a you
That's
you
a
didn't
lie.
interrupt you,
Jason, it does. Just hold on a second, Jason. We did actually allow you to speak for quite some time, and you made your point. Please let Ijaz make his point, and then let Dr. Imran make his point, and then if any of the brothers want to make their point, and we'll have a nice discussion. But let's not interrupt one another. Let's hear what we have to say, and hopefully let's be sort of keep things calm, and let's let the evidence guide us to where we should go rather than our emotions. Ijaz, make your point.
I would love Jason or anyone who agrees with him to produce a video of a gang of people carrying machetes openly in the streets that were Muslim. That can't be done because the evidence for that does not exist. The second thing that he needs to keep in mind is he said something quite ridiculous earlier. He said that the reason that there's such disharmony in the UK today is because it's not a Christian society anymore. People need to turn back to God. Forgive me, but when Christianity was at its peak in Britain, you were the worst slavers and colonizers on the planet. So it just seems to correlate. More Christianity equals more demonization of non-white ethnic peoples. The third thing I would mention here is he said that Keir Starmer created a dual class or a two-class situation. This is false. I mean, we can apply this to any of the Tory prime ministers that we've had recently. They did the same thing. They were on your side. Where did the Reform Party come out and create a message of unity? I would like to see that. So the thing is, you've created a straw man here. Not a single person on the right who identifies with Tommy Robinson produced a single shred of a message to unify the British public. And the last thing I'll mention here is I noticed that the pastor, he didn't condemn specifically the stoning of masjids, trying to light masjids on fire, and attacking Muslim sisters in the streets. Not the false acid claim, but we've seen people pulling off the hijabs of our Muslim sisters, in particular from those who support Tommy Robinson. I just wanted to get that across. I would love that video, Jason.
Can I, before, because I want to fact
please,
check Jason on something, because Jason, I'll let you come in after, because you talked about this pub. I know this has gone viral. There was a group of Muslims dressed in black outside a pub, and basically it's come out in the Sky News, you can go and check it, that basically someone from inside the pub was shouting out the P word and racist words to the people, and they actually did smash one of the windows. Now, when you've got the country, you know, in different cities where you've got loads of people being beaten up, people, you know, setting alight to hotels, dragging people out of cars, when you've got this, and then, you know, you've got the nerve to come on and then try and bring a couple of instances to sort of make it condemning, you know, we've got to condemn the Muslim actions. Seems a bit silly to me. Does it not?
Right. First of all, Ijaz, any violence, any violence. My family live in a Muslim area. When there were people trying to mug Muslim ladies, my brother and I, we've caught when we were children, kids, people trying to rob Muslim women. We're well known in the Muslim area in Wearmouth as a family for defending Muslims when they've been persecuted, when they were a minority in the 1980s, 1990s. So, just the other day, my friend, we went out street preaching. We came back. My friend lost his key. There was a piece of paper on the car, phone Hamas. His name was Hamas. So we phoned. He said, "I've got your key." So he came from Manchester to Cheetham Mill. He was a beautiful young Muslim guy, and he gave us. He gave my friend the key. He was a dentist student. That same day, a Muslim lady from Dubai or somewhere, a family on holiday, I was street preaching, and she gave me a chocolate brownie. And also that a couple of days later, my auntie was getting her eye done, and I was in a car with a beautiful Muslim guy called Bernard, but he says there's an Arabic in Bernard. I don't know how that works, but he said he's Bernard. I thought it was English, but he said it's Arabic. He's from Bangladesh, and we had a lovely conversation. You know, shouldn't be demonizing individual Muslims, and there should be no attacks being done to any sisters like that. Condemn it. If I was there, if anyone was attacking the Muslim lady, I'd be there. I'd be defending that Muslim lady 100%. That goes without saying. Smashing people's windows is absolutely disgraceful. If there was a riot and there were patriots doing that, and I was standing there, I'd be standing at the Muslim windows defending the Muslims. No problem. Absolutely. Condemn it 100%. But what I'm saying to you is that it's very simplistic. It comes back to Andrew Tate came on recently, and he put his finger on the pulse on one of the issues. Is that one of the main issues is not just Tommy Robinson, it's the establishment as well. The establishment want to create division within society. They want to stir that pot. And I understand what you're saying about this going into the pub, but I've watched the media, I watch non-media, I watch all types, because you can't trust like one media group. And what happened recently was absolutely disgraceful. But it's not all just one. It's not all one group. There is discrimination going on against people in their own country who feel second-class citizens, and there's anger and frustration. And the Prime Minister would be well to go to these working-class communities and talk to them and ask them why they are upset, why they're angry. Those who are thugs, they have to be dealt with by the law, right? So those are some of the basic things that needs to be done in proper leadership if you're in a nation. But sadly, we lack prominent, mature leaders in our nation. We lack weighty leaders. Yeah. On Tommy Robinson, in terms of Tommy Robinson, yeah, he can use emotive language, and yeah, in his way, he's trying to deal with something, but in a way, it's causing division. In his mind, he sees Islam as a threat. That's how I understand it. He sees Islam as a threat, and I think that you have a long way to explain why in 10, 20, 30 years' time, England's going to be fine, the United Kingdom's going to be fine if Islam takes control. And in the future, with the birth rate that you have, you're going to have more political power. And are you going to bring in Sharia law in the next 20 years? Or are you going to, is it going to be, are these cities going to be Islamic states? Or are you going to come under British law? And the answer is, you know that you are heading to make Britain Islamic. And that's where Tommy's coming from. That's what his opposition is. It might be emotive, but to continue to demonize vast waves of people who are upset about mass immigration and the loss of identity in their culture. And for me, the answer is for the nation to come back to Christianity. And it was Wilberforce and Newton, Ijaz, who stopped the slave trade. It was not Islam. It was Newton and Wilberforce who were Christian, not Islam. So just remember that. Thank you. I really appreciate that I've been able to share. Thank you.
Yeah, no, Robbie, you got all the time that you've needed.
Yep.
So these concerns that you're coming up with, bro, that the white working class are consider themselves now second-class citizens in their own country. Yeah, you said that. Okay. That Sharia is Muslims are taking over, and there's something to be said for that. I mean, we can't just ignore the fact that the demographic of the country, there is a lot more Muslims in the country now than there was 20 or 30 years ago, and that's obviously a big change in the culture of the country. Okay, but when you said that this country is going to turn Muslim in 20 or 30 years, no. Sorry, I'm off. Can you hear me again?
Yeah, all good.
Yeah, sorry. That's a complete exaggeration of what this is all about, you know.
Just mute Jason's microphone.
Turn your YouTube
I can't hear anything now.
Jason, can you mute your microphone? Everyone mute up.
Yeah.
How do you mute?
Yeah.
Is that better?
I keep muting mine and then it comes back on. I don't know.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, is it okay? Is it okay now?
Is it okay?
So, Dowie, what's happening is you've got two tabs open. One is the YouTube tab and one is the stream tab. Just mute the YouTube tab, and I think it'll be fine.
You got a 2-tier laptop there.
Keir Starmer strikes again.
Okay. So while Dowie's just sort of getting himself back into the stream, let me just sort of, because you raised a lot of things that I don't think are accurate, but you raised them on the foundation of Keir not uniting the country. You said he made statements that, rather than uniting, divided the people. Yeah. And that was the basis for a lot of your statements. But this division by politicians is not a new thing. This division by politicians has been going on for decades. And it's been exacerbated and further enhanced by social media, and particularly these new openly defaming, disparaging channels like GBN and Talk TV, openly sort of Islamophobic in their rhetoric. We've had 14 years of conservative rule. We've had conservatives who are not champagne socialists. The opposite of what you're saying. They are not champagne socialists. We've had two of the most Islamophobic home secretaries that we could ever have thought would exist. We thought Priti Patel was bad, and then we had the wicked witch of the East appear, Suella Braverman, who was even worse. And they were making statements that really do ignite the people and separate them. And they were supported. They were supported by the mass of the social media. If you look at any of the headlines for particularly the tabloid press in this country, which is the most read press, it's shocking. Non-Muslims get their own laws in Britain. The Daily Mail, Daily Express. Christianity under attack. Give us full Sharia law, non-Muslim, now Muslims demand. Muslim plot to kill the king. Ramadan ding dong. Millions are eating halal food without knowing it. Halal secret Pizza Express. I mean, this is day in, day out. Muslim thugs aged just 12 in knife attack on schoolboy. You know, this is just the 1 in 5 British Muslims sympathy for jihadists. All of these things, which were printed and circulated in the millions to all of the people of the country. Most of this stuff is consumed by people in the working class, etc. What do you think that's doing? Do you think that's uniting people? Do you think that's bringing the country together? Do you think that's actually trying to ensure that we have a cohesive and society? Any one of those headlines, you change that term Muslim to Jew or Jewish, and I'll guarantee you'll be in a court being sued for anti-Semitism. But it's allowed, it's tolerated allowed for Muslims. And we crossed the threshold where Islamophobic rhetoric and discussions became the thing that you could do at a dinner table. You couldn't do this before. You can't be openly racist. So this is an indirect way of being racist, where you refer to someone's culture or their background rather than referring to their ethnicity, when you know actually this is talking about a group of people who are generally speaking not white. So this, you're talking about how the people in power didn't unite the country. They've not been uniting the country for at least 2 decades or more, and they've been supported in their efforts of disuniting by the media. And the question is why. They're doing it simply for power. They're afraid that because the media is pushing this anti-Muslim hate out there, blatant anti-Muslim hate. Everything, all of the headlines I've read to you, there's many more that you can read. If you look at this rhetoric that's out there, this gives an underlying sentiment to people who are disenfranchised. They're struggling with their day-to-day lives. They can't pay their bills. They can't pay their electricity bill. They can't pay their council tax. They can't even buy food, put food on their table for their families. They're struggling to keep their homes. They can't even claim the benefits that they're eligible for without feeling humiliated. The system was destroyed by these same politicians. Now, what they do is, rather than saying to you or to the average person that we're the reason why you are suffering, what they're doing is that they're pointing to the current scapegoat. The previous scapegoats have been Jews in the East London, who've been the blacks in East London, have been the other minorities that come into East London. It was the Polish for a while, now specifically Muslims. And so this whole idea that we needed to unite these people who are rampaging around, burning religious buildings where religious worship takes on, and who were attacking random people on the street on the basis of their skin color, none of that can be explained or justified by anything to do with any legitimate concerns. Now, if there are, and I hear what Brother Dowie is saying, and I hear what you're saying, you're not saying the same thing, but there are issues that need to be dealt with. But the most ridiculous thing that you said amongst the things you said was this idea of Tommy Robinson seeing Islam as a threat, and in 20 years it will be a majority. Do you know that the global population is falling? Do you know that? The birth rate, the global birth rate is falling. There are 196 countries, 183 of them have a falling birth rate. In the West, you need a 2.1 children per female per family to replenish the country. We went lower than that in this country in 2017. We're now at about 1.5.
we will not be able to produce the youth who will then work and pay taxes into the system to keep our country going. We don't have them. They're not being born. What's happening is we're having an aging population. They're getting older. That if you look at, if this was highest age and lowest age, our population is becoming like this. We need it to be like this, where the youth are going to lead the country into the future and do the work that's needed and support the elderly. Why that's come about, partially I agree with you. We've lost a lot of our traditions, we've lost our cultures, we've lost our religious identity. Religiosity has gone down. But you can't point that finger at another religious people and say that our religiosity has gone down because you're religious. No, your religiosity has gone down is because you've given up on your religion. You've accepted same-sex marriage and you'll do it in front of church in God. You've accepted rainbow flags, and you've every single thing where you should stand for your religion, you've accepted it. Because you don't say this is we don't mind you getting civil marriages and you can do whatever you like, but don't force that into our religion. You haven't done that. You've diluted your identity. And then you see us not doing that. We marry, we have children, because that's that we understand the society. The kernel of that is the family. Now, if you're missing that, how is that to blame? And then the worst, most egregious thing, this is what Tommy Robinson does, is that you take these people who are suffering and you give them a fear. You label that suffering. You say, this suffering is because of the Great Replacement. This suffering is because of any attack that happens with a brown person. These Muslims are all killers and they're all trying to get your women. Absolute. This is the stuff that disunites. And that predates Keir Starmer's speech. He's only been in power for 5 minutes. It predates all of his speeches before that. So I don't understand anything that you've said as being looking at anything to do with the reality of it. Tell me about when you stood up and said any headline that was made against Muslims was disuniting the country. Tell me when Suella Braverman was calling people marching for Palestine hate marches, that this is disuniting the country. None of you did that. Why? You're a Christian. You stand for truth. This is what you believe. You stand for justice. This is what you believe. Why are you not standing for truth and justice then? Why is it only truth and justice when it allows people to be aggressive and violent towards ethnic minorities? I don't get it. Give me your views. I didn't understand what you said. None of your thought processes made sense to me. From the first point of disuniting the country hasn't been united for decades. But that's my thoughts. Dowie, sorry, brother Dowie, you were saying something before you left.
Yeah, I mean, there is a view amongst the white working people, as it were, and I work on construction sites most of the time. So you do hear this all the time about, I'm getting the echo. How do I get rid of the echo, guys? Can you hear me now?
Normally means you've got 2 tabs open, Dowie. Is that possible? Have you got YouTube on as well?
Can we mute everyone except Dowie?
Can we mute everyone except Dowie?
It's Jason.
Can you hear me now?
It's Jason.
Now?
Jason again. There we go. Leave like
that. Can you hear me now without the echo, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, brilliant. Yeah, so I hear this a lot on building sites, and what the guys at work will say and everything else is that, everything is, changing, and, they walk down certain areas of towns and cities and they're not recognizable as what they was 15, 20, whatever years ago. And they're feeling pushed out, and they're blaming the Muslim community that they're taking over the country, and their morals and their religion and their way of life is taking over the country. This is what I hear on a daily basis at work. So whether it's true or not isn't important. It's what people believe. That's that we have to deal with, whether we could go into the facts of it and break it all down, but that's the sort of narrative that people believe. And I think the problem is that culture is changing in this country. Culture is always going to change. It always has changed. It's changed when the Romans got here. It changed when the Vikings got here. It changed when the Normans got here, but it took hundreds of years. Now it seems to be changing a lot quicker, and people are struggling with that. You know, and that's the sort of things that I'm hearing off of white people all the time. I'm not going to shout them down for it. I'm not going to say that they're wrong for that's what they observe on the streets and that. But obviously the counter argument is, well, guys, what's stopping you from practicing your culture? Well, no one said don't practice Christmas, don't celebrate St. George's Day, don't have a Sunday roast, don't go to the pub, don't do whatever it is that you think is culturally normal for you. No one has stopped you from doing that. Like the brother said, you know, your Christianity is being so diluted down now that that's not even a moral compass or a foothold anymore for most people. Most people that are in this country don't even practice Christianity as a proper religion, or seriously, that is. So this is so the likes of Tommy Robinson just jump on this bandwagon, and they kind of use that to divide and put communities against communities. You're blaming another community because you're not doing something in your community. That's what it seems to be to me. I mean, no one stops me from going to the pub. I choose not to. No one stops me from not celebrating Christmas. I choose not to.
You see, Dowie, you know what it is, Dowie? I mean, a lot of people might be really shocked when they hear me say this. They might even think, what is Abbas talking about here? But I fully understand when English people say to me that the shops in my area have changed, the restaurants, the cafes have changed. I don't hear a lot of people speaking English around me, and it actually makes me feel uncomfortable. I actually have no problem whatsoever of someone saying that to me. And as far as I'm concerned, you're not a racist.
No, you're not.
If you say that, because it's perfectly fine to have those feelings, right? Because quite frankly, I would argue that I like to be in an area where I can understand everybody. I like an area that's mixed. I don't like a pure Asian area or pure black area. I like it to be mixed, where people are mixing, people are, you know, all getting on together. For me, that's a much nicer position to be in. But you know what it is, Dowie? What people don't sort of appreciate is how does that phenomena happen? And what they see is, oh, it's just a lot of people coming in, they're invading, and they're just changing everything overnight, and it's difficult. But what they fail to appreciate is that nobody's forcing you out of those areas. So when you have this phenomena called white flight, when you see a few brown faces in your town, in your city, and you think, oh, all right, you know what? It's time to get out of here. The darkies are coming in. So what then ends up happening is you set a process where the white people then start moving out, and you have more Asian or black people or that particular ethnicity moving in. And as more shops open up, places of worship open up, it has a domino effect where more people are now attracted to that area. Now, I would much rather the English people saying, actually, you know what? If we could all live together, that would be nice. And this phenomenon of what? Now, I'll give you an example of this personally, right? So I'm going back now more than 40 years. My mum and my family, my mum's passed away. May Allah give her Jannah. She passed away just a few months back. But my dad used to work in the Middle East, and my mum wanted to move up to Yorkshire because my aunt lived there. So we thought, let's go and have a look at a house. The letting agent took us around to see a house. My brother was a year older than me. I was probably about 12, right? So he was 13. My sister probably was 10, and my younger sister probably was 6. Okay. So we go to see this house, and we, living in London, we never thought you've got to pick a particular street or you've got to pick a particular area because, you know, that's where the Asians are. We never thought like that. So the letting agent takes us to see this house. As we walk into this house, within 10 minutes, 5 minutes, a crowd of white people are outside the house. And we suddenly get insults flying in left, right, and set. Packy, dirty Packies, go home. You're not welcome here. You dirty Packies, you dirty pack. The mothers were standing, and a couple of blokes were standing around laughing, clearly taking part in this behavior. And do you know what we did, Dowie? We said, look, maybe we shouldn't be living in a white area. Maybe we should go and live in a brown area.
Because people always feel comfortable amongst what's familiar to them.
What I'm trying to say here is if if all communities understand, it's not because it's an invasion, it's not because people are all coming in and they're pushing the white people out, it's because there are lots of circumstances. And some of that responsibility, I'm not saying all of the responsibility, some of the responsibility lies on white people,
of course,
who show a lot of racism, and they don't want brown faces in the area, period. We're not talking about 5% or 10%. They don't want any. And they end up making brown people feel so comfortable and unsafe that they don't want to live in those mixed areas or white areas anymore. So
and white people, when they go to other countries, bro, they do exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
They congregate in areas where they feel comfortable, where they can service their community, where they're familiar. I mean, it's a normal thing for human beings to do that.
Yeah.
But why would I want to go and live in a street full of Bangladeshis? Because might feel, I'll be okay because I'm a Muslim. But if I was a white guy, I would feel uncomfortable there.
Fair enough, and that's understandable.
That would be an uncomfortable place for me.
Understandable. But you know what it is, Dowie? For me, if I moved into a street that was all white, or even a neighborhood that was all white, if the people were respectful and they were just good people, honestly, I wouldn't feel, I wouldn't bat an eyelid, right? It wouldn't bother me at all. But the problem, unfortunately, is that racism is real, hostility towards people of color is real, and you're not treated in the same way as a white person is treated. The police do not approach you in the same way that they approach a white person. I'm not saying all police. I think most police are decent, hardworking people who are there to, protect us, and they're doing a fantastic job. And quite frankly, I don't like it when people trash the police, because the things that they have to do and the things that they have to see, I just say, thank God I don't have to do that type of a job. It's a very hard job to do. It's often a job where you're risking your life to save other people. So I don't like it when people start trashing the police. But there is institutional racism with the way that brown people are treated. And one last thing, Jason, and I was quite upset when you actually said this, which was what you said, that you said something. Oh God, I've completely missed it. It was a really important point that I wanted to make, that you mentioned about Tommy. Oh, sorry. Yes, it was about Sharia law. It was about the fact that a lot of white people think that if Muslims sort of become higher in number, that somehow the white non-Muslim is under Sharia law. Actually, Jason, that would be against the Sharia. That is actually against Sharia law. It's against Sharia law to put people under Sharia law who are not under Sharia law because they're not Muslim. Did you know that, Jason?
So just to translate that, the Sharia only applies to Muslims. It can't apply to a non-Muslim. It's very basic.
That's why I wanted to say before I fumbled the phone and got cut off. Yeah. It wouldn't apply to you.
If you're in a state where there is Sharia, I think it's you actually, Jason. So if you're living in a state where Sharia law.
Yeah, Jason, it's your microphone, so we're going to have to just mute you until you come back. And then just stick your hand up when you want to respond. So don't unmute yourself now, please. Just let me mute you, and then once you want to speak, just put your hand up and we'll get you on. Sorry, Imran, finish your point.
Yeah, so if you are living in a state where the Sharia law was there, then actually the Sharia would allow you to practice the laws of your religion. It allows parallel legal systems. That's part of the Sharia. Let me just mute you. But the question I want to ask that Brother Dowie, you said something really interesting. You said that if you're living, you as a Muslim living in a street of Bangladeshis, you'd be fine.
Yeah.
So why would so I want you to just delineate that. Just make.
I was going to say that. Yeah, I was going to say that. So most white people will say they move out because the people that are moving in, wherever they're from, have a different living standard. They don't live the same. They have different standards of how they keep their house, different standards of how they live, different standards of the way they are, and they lower the the standards of the area. So they don't want to live next door to that. They're going to trash the area, as it were. They're going to lower the tone of the area. So white people will say, yeah, but I don't want to live next to them, mate, because they live rough in it. You know, they live like dogs. You know, they're messy gardens, messy house, kids running around, you know, and that's what they'll say. I don't want to live next to that. Now you've moved in, you've ruined the area. I've got to get out before the house goes even lower, or the price of the house goes even lower. That's what they'll say. I'm not saying that's the case myself. I'm just giving you the reason, because a white guy will come on and say, I don't want to live next to you because you live different to me. Your culture is very different to mine. Yeah. You'll chuck your washing over the fence and I'll put mine in the tumble dryer. You know,
Dowie, I don't want to, because it's a good flow you're doing, but I just want to give my take on that, because I feel like I've heard that argument before, people saying like, you know, the immigrants are messier and stuff like that. I feel the mindset is, if a white person's messy, they're fine with it. If an immigrant's living next to them, they must uphold this kind of higher standard, because it's not their land, it's not their kind of place. You know, it's that kind of mindset which I feel I struggle when people start talking about, you know, these immigrants come over here like they need to be thankful, like immigrants need to walk around, like they don't pay their own way, they don't deserve, you know.
But that's the mindset, bro. If they're in this country, you need to be happy you're in this country and respect it. That's what they'll say. I'm just giving you the argument from the other side, because when I lived in my place up in Luton, we moved in, and 3 days later, Mr. and Mrs. Khan and their two children moved in, okay, and they were Pakistani. Now my dad was like, I'm not having that. I'm not having that. You know what I mean? He got a bit angry, you know, he got a bit as usual. And when she started throwing her washing over the fence to dry it, my dad went a bit mad. After 3 days or a week, I don't know, it's a very small amount of time. They were the best neighbours we've ever had, and we've had them neighbours for 40 odd years. They were beautiful people. It just, we didn't know each other. My dad was, you know, he hadn't lived next door to Pakistanis before, and he didn't know them. And then when he moved next door to them, they're cooking that curry, it stinks. When they started bringing curry round for him to eat, all of a sudden, he loved it. It's like Mr. and Mrs. Khan couldn't do anything wrong. You know what I mean? And they was a blessing as neighbours, and their two sons as well. They were the best family friends ever. But it's just that thing, initially, you don't know each other. And they do live different. I mean, they do. There is a difference in culture and a difference in religion, dress code, language, everything. So people look at that and think, I don't want to live around that. I want to live with what's familiar to me. And if what's familiar to me has moved over there, then I'm going to go and move over there with them. You know, and that's what happens. And this is a human nature thing. The English are the king at this, the kings of this when they go abroad. Do you think when the English moved to India, they hang around with the Indians?
Yeah.
No. Do you think when they went to America, they hang around with the Native Americans? No. Do you think when they go to Spain, because they've earned money out of what they're doing over here, do you think they go and live with the Spanish? No, they don't. I mean, it's just a human thing that we will do. I mean, I'm comfortable because I've always been brought up in this area, so I don't know anything different. And to me, it was strange. But this is the counter argument. We don't want to live next to them because they're different to us. And I suppose if you was to see that, as to ask a Pakistani guy, would you want to live in a street full of white people? And he might say, no, I don't want to live next to them. They're different to us. They're going to cook bacon. They're going to drink. They're going to not be, you know, and he might have the similar opinions, but the other way around.
Yeah.
So I just think it's a human thing that people will want to put themselves into areas where they feel like their community is around them, and they're facilitated and they're serviced and they can feel comfortable. I mean, a woman wearing a hijab in a street all full of English people is going to feel awkward. A woman wearing a hijab in a street where there is a mixture of a lot of Muslims there, if not all, then she's going to feel more comfortable. And you're going to feel more comfortable if that's your mum or your wife or your sister or someone else. So I don't see it changing. I don't see this utopia of them and us living together in peace and harmony in that type of way. I think we'll just have to have areas, and look at America. Look, America has got black areas, Hispanic areas, white areas.
Yeah.
It just is that way, you know what I mean? I don't see it changing. I mean, it's
the thing
a bit
is,
more.
when you've got people like Tommy and Pastor Burns there, you know, because you've got people like this in this mindset where obviously multiculturalism, one of the things is they're living next to people not like them. If you've got people whispering in your ear that they're trying to take over your country, they're trying to put Sharia law. Do you know what they're doing? And I've seen Pastor Burns do it the same. So I'm happy to, because I find what he said, because I think there are some people that are going to jump on, inshallah, that are sincere. But people like Jason, they're very kind of, you know, beat around the bush about it. I almost prefer Nazis because they tell you exactly what they want, what they hate. And then you've got these guys that they kind of slide around. Yeah. But do you condemn this? Yeah, but Tommy's this. Yeah, but and then meanwhile, you know, Tommy is someone that is he's on bail, isn't he? Because he lied to the court. He's been found.
I mean, we put too much into Tommy. I mean, Tommy is what he is. I mean, once he's earned his money and he's outlived his usefulness, mate, he'll be gone. He'll be living somewhere else, and it won't be a problem for him.
Yeah,
we put too much on him. There's a lot of English people that don't like Tommy Robinson, but still hold certain views about immigration, about the culture of the country, and about the takeover of, you know, like they're feeling like they're going to be outnumbered at some point. There's a lot of people that hold those views, but don't have any. They don't want Tommy Robinson at all. They don't agree with him. He just seems to be the one talking. Yeah. But they're not, you know. But there's a lot of white people that will say, you know, sooner or later we're going to be outnumbered over him. Yeah, that's just what they're saying. And if you look at the maths, I suppose at some point, if non-white people have more kids than white people, at some point that table will that will turn. And culture is always going to change. And in 50 years, this culture won't be the same as it is now. There'll be very different things. I mean, I just think it's initially that pain of change, you know. Yeah. And I don't think it's gonna. I don't think any. Tommy Robinson gets beamed up into outer space and we never see him again. Okay, there'll be another one. He's nothing new.
What it is, Dowie, there's certain things that I would agree, certain things I would disagree. Like, so for example, I drive for a living, so I go through many different areas in London. Now, if you go to some of the poshest, nicest, most expensive areas, you'll find all cultures, all different types of religions living in those areas. It's a class thing. It actually isn't. It's not actually, for me, it is not actually a religion or a culture as much as it is a class thing. So if somebody is uneducated, it doesn't matter if they're white working class or brown working class or whatever, they might not behave in the same way perhaps that a more refined person might behave, in terms of making sure they don't disturb the neighbors, or they don't do this or they don't do that. What I'm trying to say to you is that I don't think it is really fundamentally that. But I think what happens is, you see, the reason why there is this distrust, you see, is not because this is something inherent in terms of, you know, this is just how we are, this is how it's just going to be. But there are so many scaremongers in the media, politicians, and people like Tommy, who spread lies and deception about people. So when they do see a woman with a hijab on, then they're suspicious. I remember one of the radio presenters on LBC, he said, I have to be very honest, I'm a bit ashamed of myself, he said. He said, I had a Muslim couple with, I think their kid or whatever, moved next door to me. And he goes, initially, I was actually a bit apprehensive. And he goes, I know that's a really silly thing to admit, but that's what I felt, he said. But then I got to meet them. And, you know, everything changed. So it was ignorance of, and he admitted it afterwards. And he said, they're one of the nicest people that I've ever met in my life. And what I'm trying to say is, Dowie, that chance of people hopefully getting on and getting to know one another. And, you know, if, for example, your Asian neighbor's throwing his clothes on your fence and you don't like it, you say, look, sorry, but can you not throw your clothes on my fence? Because I personally would probably feel the same way, right? You know what I mean? And things can get worked out, things can be resolved. And if your white neighbor is doing it, you can say the same thing in a nice way, right? But the point is, we're not being given a chance, because what's happening is there is this scaremongering where for some people, all white people are racist, which is, I think, completely wrong and a very bad way of looking at people and generalizing to everybody. And there is, unfortunately, a lot of white people that are very suspicious of people of different color and culture. And in particular, you know, of Muslims. I mean, I had a middle-class guy who I was dropping off at one of the top member clubs in London, in Mayfair, right? And so he said, where are you from, young man? And I said, well, I'm not young, but My parents are originally from India, but I was born here. Now there were two other Americans sitting in the car, a woman and a man. Yeah. Do you know what he said to me? Very posh, middle class accent, clearly, probably very, public school educated and very wealthy from the way he had held himself and the jacket, coat, and everything he had on. He goes, "Ha ha ha! At least you're not Muslim." Yeah,
but you know what? They don't understand the difference between a Sikh, a Hindu, a Muslim.
And I said, well, actually, I am. And obviously, there was this uncomfortable silence in the car, right?
And he was educated.
Very educated. Right. I would say not even middle class. I would say probably more upper class, because his accent, you get that very
English posh accent,
very posh but upper class English accent, and
so
they were going to a place that probably charges, I don't know, 30 quid a drink or something. So this is not a cheap place, right?
So what do you think would be the situation for guys that work on just ordinary jobs, building sites, factories and stuff?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're not going to know.
So what I'm trying to say to you, Dowie, is now, obviously, after the uncomfortable silence, I thought, because I'll be honest with you, I felt bad for him.
Yeah.
You know why I felt bad for him? Because I knew he'd put himself in a very embarrassing situation. And there were two other people in the car, Americans in the car, right? And they went very quiet. And I thought, you know what? He is clearly probably now embarrassed, and I felt sorry for him.
Just one point of note. I think Jason is in the back chat still.
I'm going to get him back on again.
Yeah, but he needs to sort out his audio.
Okay. Jason, actually, if you come out of the stream completely and then log back in again, it might sort your audio out, and I'll get you back on, Jason. So what I said to the guy is, I said to him, look, I know you hear a lot of stuff in the media, and a lot of things are said, and I can understand why you might feel that way, but just know that most of us are just decent, good people like everybody else. Right?
And this is why we have to take the conversation away from the extremists, because whenever you've got extremists talking on any side, then you're going to have an extreme situation. So ordinary people have to just get on and talk to each other.
Yeah.
We have to get on and understand each other. Like when my dad actually become Muslim at the end of all that, many, many years later. But just say when they know each other, and it's just a case of these people have never. You're talking about someone that's obviously educated and obviously well off, and he thought because you was an Indian you weren't Muslim. Now you can imagine on building sites, they don't know the difference between a Sikh, a Muslim, or anybody else. They just don't know the difference. Okay. So when we let the extremists like Tommy, and there is Muslim extremists that antagonize the situation as well. When we let them do all the talking and ordinary people stay quiet, then we're going to have extreme situations.
Yeah.
Because I can guarantee if I pull out 50 people from these so-called protests that want their country back, that riots, if I ask them 50 different people, what do they want from their country back, and what's this, and what's the immigration, I'd get 50 different answers.
Yeah.
There is no mandate. There is no manifesto. I'll get 50 different answers. And it's only when extremists do the talking for them and then gaslight them into doing that sort of stuff, because I'm not being funny, but they don't know. One of these guys got 5 years the other day from the riots, and he didn't know what right wing meant. He didn't know what the word right wing meant.
Yeah.
I mean, people sometimes underestimate this,
Yeah. People are just being used as pawns, unfortunately. Yeah. I was hoping that more of the Tommy supporters and people who were, I
don't think there's that many of them, bruv. To be honest with you, I think you overestimate his reach.
It just seems to be true. It just seems that either they're very brave when it's 50 and 100 together, but they don't want to come and talk about it, or there just aren't that many of you out there. Maybe
I don't think there's as many as we think.
Yeah,
there's people that agree with stuff he's saying, but they don't agree with him.
I disagree. So I disagree with Dowie and Abbas. There are a lot of these people out there, and they're happy to be racist. They want to preserve their white culture. They happen to think that white culture is superior to all cultures, right? That's what they genuinely believe. And you'll come across many white Canadians making the same statements like the Tommy Robinson. This is why Tommy Robinson could go to the UK, go to the US, without faking a passport, coming to Canada, going to Australia. He can go to these white majority countries and say the same script and get applauded for it, because there's a common undertone, right? there are white people who are racist. Some
I don't
of
think
them
he's allowed in America. Tommy
not
Robinson was
anymore.
barred from being in America.
Yeah, not anymore. But
because
you
he
get the
asked to go
point.
there and they wouldn't let him in.
Yeah. But the point being here, there's the same undertone that exists in all these disparate nations because of the same ideas culturally that exist there. I see Pastor Jason is back without an echo. Alhamdulillah. So, sorry, Jordan, you had something to say before. I apologize if I cut you
No,
off.
no, it's happy to because I think in summation of him, Jason was talking. I think Jason probably responded to Imran's point from a while ago. Go ahead, Jason.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you. I've heard a lot, a couple of things. One of the brothers said that he would like me to stop beating about the bush, and implying that, I can't remember your exact words, but you're implying that some kind of I'm right wing or kind of that kind of thing. And I think that I explained to you, I was brought up in a Muslim area most of my life. You can come to Werneth and talk to any Muslims in that area. Our family is a very respectable. We're very highly respected. My brother is one with all the Muslim brothers there. We've defended Muslim women who've been attacked in that community when I was a young lad. I explained to you meeting a taxi driver the other day and other Muslims. So to say that, I'm married to a lady in Africa. She's Dorcas. She's a black lady. So I think any Muslim's house or mosque being attacked, I'd be the first one there to defend that. So I don't like that slur or implication. On the issue of Tommy, because you said that, because you're implying that I won't call a spade a spade. I believe that Tommy's emotive. I think he can be quite emotive, but I do believe that in his own mind, from his point of view, that he's a nationalist in terms of he believes in his country, like national, like a British, and he sees Islam as a threat. That's how I see him. Right. In the past, I have seen one or two videos where I thought that seems racist years ago, and I don't know if that was clickbait, someone trying to corner him. But I've watched a lot of his videos, and it seems to me that he's sincere. He might be getting money, I don't know.
So today,
I think he
Jason,
seems to be very sincere.
Jason, today I heard Tommy saying on a live show on an Indian news channel, and he was basically basing. He was saying things on the Indian channel, talking about Hindus and how you guys know how these Muslims are as well, and they're doing their rape jihad. He kept mentioning this word rape, these words, rape jihad, rape jihad. You think this guy is sincere? You think this guy is not is not a dog whistle to people? I mean, what planet are you on, Jason? Quite frankly.
Because Dr. Imran made a good point, and you're making a point, is that if you look at the history of the news, there's been a lot of emotive language against Muslims, and that is a dog whistle. But having said that, he's coming from a point of view. I mean, with the grooming gangs, was that historical or not? Did that happen or not?
I'll tell you what you should do, Jay. I'll tell you what you should do, Jason, about the grooming gangs. You should study the work of Ella Cockbain. I'm going to put her name, or I'll ask one of the brothers to put the name on the screen. She is a very educated, qualified, professor, teacher at one of the universities in London. I'll get the details. Maybe one of the brothers can get her, Professor Ella Cockbain. Yeah. She basically studies this type of phenomena, and she looked into this. And you know what she found? What she found was that this data was highly questionable. She's not, by the way, claiming that these people that were convicted didn't do the crimes, these heinous crimes. These are heinous people. There's no doubt about that. But the 84% statistic that was presented was completely misleading. It was a subset of a group in a particular area, and they came up with a figure. Even that figure, they said, what she said was inaccurate, because in most other people that were arrested, the religion was not stated, right?
But
And
yeah,
what
I hear what you're saying.
Jason, what she found was that if you change the definition from grooming gangs to grooming rings, do you know what percentage those would have been on white people? Have a wild guess. It would have come up as 100%. It would have come up as 100%.
What?
100, because grooming gangs is a definition. Grooming gangs is a definition.
But the thing is,
let me just finish my point. You just asked me for clarification. Let me just finish my point. Grooming gangs is a definition of a group of people who actually know each other, and then they organize themselves to do the sort of heinous, horrid crimes that they did. A grooming ring are a group of people who've gathered together, but they don't actually know each other. So it might be through the internet or whatever. And what they found was that grooming rings constituted 100% of white people. Now, can you imagine the British press or this stupid Suella Braverman or any of these politicians saying that grooming rings are 100% white and we need to do some sort of action against this because these white men are raping our young girls? Would they ever say something like that, Jason?
Well,
but they misrepresented the statistics deliberately. They misrepresent. Let me just finish my point, Jason. They misrepresented the statistics deliberately, and they did not challenge the people who pushed those statistics out, like Quilliam, who were later disgraced and disbanded. They had to close. Okay, the press, or the media, or the politicians did not challenge those statistics, right? So this false narrative was pushed out, and guess what? Jason is now mentioning it on the stream because you haven't bothered to find out whether it was actually true or whether this was a gross misrepresentation of the facts.
Well, can I speak now? Can I just say a couple of things and then I'll pull back then and I'll leave it. On the issue of grooming gangs, I was brought up in a Muslim area, so you can throw all the statistics you want. I know Blackburn, I know Bradford, I know all the Muslim areas because I was brought up with Muslim people. I was brought up with Muslim youth, and I know for a fact that there was a lot of things going on at that time when I was a young teenager of taking advantage.
Like what, Jason? Like what?
Right. So because it's an open thing that you can, if you're brought up as a Muslim lad and you're brought up in a strict family, you're going to get married to a Muslim girl. But if you're in a secular culture where it's a free for all, you're going to take advantage of that. And many young girls were taking advantage. And I saw that when I was a young person. So, but that's not just in the Muslim community. But wait, can I just say? The point is the press, the police and the press suppressed that. They suppressed that. Your statistics, I don't know if it's a left-wing scholar, a left-wing lefty scholar that you're saying, bro.
Government statistics.
Is that the same?
Well, government statistics. Government statistics can't be trusted. But can I just say one last thing, and then you can? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you said a few things that need responding to, so just hold your horses for a second. Assalamu alaikum, Chris. How are you doing? You well, mashallah?
Assalamu alaikum.
Good to see you, Chris.
So I want to make some points, but Chris, give us your perspective.
I think Jason's very insincere, to be honest. He had a chance here to bring Muslims and Christians together and try work against places of worship being stoned and stuff like that. But he's chose to go on the rhetoric side of things, grooming gangs,
got Muslim friends,
and all sorts of nonsense that's coming out of his mouth. Well, typically, I wouldn't call him Pastor Jason anyway.
Chris, how can we trust Jason when he allowed women to be abused in his own community and he did nothing about it? Jason, you were part of the problem.
Is my mic low? Can people hear me?
We can hear you now. Yeah.
So basically, he don't have the same rhetoric. They don't have the same energy for the priests and stuff like that in the church, and many boarding schools and nunneries and stuff like that. where we can show him statistics of things happening to kids in these. He doesn't have the same energy. He probably doesn't have the same energy for Lucy Letby. It's absolutely madness what you're saying, Jason. You're absolutely mad. You've gone crackers, bruv.
I've got videos. You've got videos where I've condemned the Catholic Church for hiding those things.
Listen,
so you're wrong, bro.
I've studied Tommy Robinson, and you've just sat here and said Tommy Robinson and haven't said anything against Islam. Oh, his message is against Islam and Muslims. And then you say, "Oh,
I've said that it's against Islam. I've said that it's against Islam." But also,
no, but what you're trying to say is you've got Muslim friends, so it's okay to talk about Islam. You're saying that you've got Muslim friends. You lived in Werner. You've got Muslim friends, so it's okay to talk.
What about Salman Rushdie?
Yeah, before we get to another
let me just finish. Can I just land my point, Jason, without you interrupting, man? Please. So basically, you said you got Muslim friends, but that's okay. You're making out as that it's okay to talk about Islam because you've got Muslim friends. Who cares? You got Muslim friends. Who cares? It doesn't really matter if you've got Muslim friends. What we're talking about, what's happening today. Why have you not condemned instead of glamorizing the criminals who are blowing things, throwing stones at things? You've sat here and you haven't condemned them. You've sat here and you've said, "Oh no, they're upset, they're angry. Oh white men,
we are border.
Poor bloody white men.
You're out of order. I have condemned them. You're totally out of order. I've condemned them twice, 3 times online just now. I've condemned them. I condemned them. It's despicable.
Anybody who glamorize it. Oh, they're upset. They're poor.
No, there's no way in a million years you can glamorize violence to anybody. No chance. You can't glamorize violence to anybody.
Why do you condemn? And then you come out and you made lies about Birmingham and the march. You made lies about that.
So made lies. It's true. They were out. The chatters and knives.
The Muslims in Birmingham are defending. They're not the aggressors. Why are you making them the aggressors? It's mad.
I think, Jason, you said to me, I think you're not sincere. I think part is I've seen you on other streams. So believe it or not, I sort of venture around. I've seen you on far right streams and stuff, and I've seen your comments on there. Far different to your energy here. So this is what I mean about that. And I think the problem is you didn't when you came on.
Show me in any video. No, show me in any video. Don't try to tap me as far right. I have been on the show once or twice talking about things, but I'm not far right. So don't try to paint me as far right. That's ridiculous. It's disgusting, and that's causing division.
Jason,
I never said you was far right. I said you were far right.
I didn't say you were far right. I'm just calling you a bum licker.
Be careful with your words.
Guys, please. Jason, let's let Jordan make his point, and then you can come back to make your point.
Yeah, I think the thing is Jason. I think in your if you go back to what you said, you made some reasonable points about people are disgruntled and people aren't being listened to and stuff like that. I think the issue is originally I did ask you about sort of the stonings of the people bricking mosques, and you didn't say anything about it. In fact, your response was, "I saw a gang going past a pub," and you also started saying, "Well,
no, I condemned it. I can tell you now. I condemn it now."
No, but you used it, and this is what people do. You used it in a way to kind of justify, because you said, "What about there are Muslims doing this?" And then you also
no, it's not true, bro. It's not true. It's not true. Anybody attacks a Muslim.
Jason, I've just had to mute you for a second.
Yeah.
Jason,
I'm sorry if you think I'm attacking.
I'm gonna let you, Jason. You will get a chance to speak.
Yeah.
If you don't agree with what Jordan is saying, you can come back when you've got time, and you can say whatever you want to say. But let's not talk about it. Jordan, just finish your point, and then.
So Jason, personally, my apologies if you think I'm attacking you. I don't want this to get emotional. I think we can have a reasonable discussion about this. I think, like I said, it's the way you came on. You started saying, "Yeah, but Tommy was, when he first started, he was innocent." And this is off the back of me asking you about it. So, let me ask you this, because you said you have a black partner, right? An African partner. What would happen if your African partner was walking through Middlesbrough last weekend during one of Tommy's riots that he sanctioned? And why hasn't Tommy said anything about it to condemn it? So you're defending this man, and that's why it looks strange. And you did use the pub incident as a retort to some of the other stuff. Otherwise, why did you bring it up?
Well,
for me, it's a bit It's a bit
To be
like
honest,
Palestine, Israel all over again. You wouldn't have people going. You wouldn't have groups of Muslims if people didn't start attacking mosques. One came before the other.
Right.
So to start talking about the other one is ridiculous.
Could I
Right,
just?
I've listened to you, Jordan. Thank you.
I just want to make a couple of points
Okay.
because there's a lot of
Can I
topics being
come in?
discussed.
Dr. Imran, let Jason in a little
let,
bit.
Let Jason make his point, and then Dr. Imran, you can go next, inshallah.
Okay.
I think I've not heard. I honestly have not heard about a Muslim girl with a hijab. If that has happened, to me, that's disgusting. And if I was there, I'd be defending that Muslim girl 100%. I don't care who it is attacking her or whatever. And if that's happened, then people should say it's out of order. And I think you're right. If innocent Muslims are being attacked, then Tommy or anybody should be saying that's disgusting. I totally agree with you, right? No word of absolutely agree with you. But can I just say a couple of points just quickly? If you go to Dubai, if you're in Dubai, there's no mass immigration there. In UK, we've had recently over the last 3.
Stop lying! Stop lying!
Chris, let Jason finish his point.
Can you just finish? Can I just finish? In UK, we've had over the last since Tony Blair, we've had massive immigration at a quick pace. It's illegal immigration. And those people have been put in hotels. Some of them are genuine, but many of them, we don't know where they're from, and that's causing fear. That's causing people to, The second thing is, I think when you were talking about the white person and the way they were reacting with the brother saying about the builders and things like that, I think some is correct, but I think it's also stereotypical. And I think the issue is at the moment that it's not just one group. Thugs have done bad things. They attacked hotel and it was wicked. It was horrible. If they've hit this Muslim girl, terrible, wicked. If I was there, I'd be defending her. If they've smashed windows, it's disgraceful and they should be dealt with, right? But on the other side, you can't be reacting dressed in black. The Muslim brothers are dressed in black in Blackburn. Why are they all dressed in black? Why are they all dressed in like all one in black? And they were some were carrying knives and machetes. They were. You can see that on. So you got to police everybody the same. And for me, as an Englishman and a British man and a Christian man, I don't feel I have the same rights as minorities in this country. I don't feel I have free speech to preach. Street preachers are being arrested all the time. The woke ideology is strangling Christian freedom, and you can't even pray outside an abortion clinic. And the brother said there's always been this division. Yeah, but behind that division, behind the Conservative Party stringing that division, there's people above them. There are globalists who want to cause division in our society. And it's
Jason,
it's a bit more complex than just saying, "Oh,
Jason,
Tommy,
I
listen,
think
Tommy, it's all his problem."
Jason, I think you're
It's
moving
the
a
Prime
little bit
Minister's
away
problem.
from
The Prime Minister.
Jason, just 1 second. I think you sort of
The Prime Minister
moving,
is to blame, and Parliament's
Jason,
to blame.
Jason, you're moving off our topic, I think. But since you mentioned Dubai, Jason, I just put this statistic up of Dubai
I've just
because
said
you said there was no immigration in Dubai. The population of Dubai is the most populous city in the United Arab Emirates. It's estimated to be 3.5 million as of April 2022, and out of the 3.5 million, 3.2 million were non-Emiratis.
Immigrants.
So they're immigrants.
Yeah,
so
but how long? Wait a minute. How long?
You'll have an excuse for this.
How
long?
long?
You, man?
No. How long are you allowed to stay in Dubai?
Decades. I've met people in their 40s and 50s who are born there. And they still live there.
No. There is a requirement that you can only stay certain years, 10 years or more. You can't stay permanently.
You don't know what you're talking about, Jason.
How can we trust you, Jason?
I do, because I know.
No, you don't, because I've lived there.
One
don't know what you're talking about.
Well, people can find out for them.
One sec, just put up the statistic.
I've lived there. You don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I do, because I know somebody's just been there.
Just put up the statistic I shared in the chat just quickly, because Jason, you seem to be really misinformed on this. The United Arab Emirates has the 5th largest international migrant stock in the entire world, Jason. 7.8 out of 9.2 million, Dubai is included in this, are migrants. So I don't know where you're getting your statistics from.
Are those migrants fully fledged Dubai people, or are they an underclass in Dubai society?
So now, Jason, you want to move the goalposts of the argument. I'm going to get Imran to come in there now and to make his point because he's been waiting. But Jason, you know what it is? This is you're the archetypal, archetype definition of what the Tommy supporter is like, because you come up with statements that are completely and absolutely false. They just do not reflect or have any correlation to the actual data. And we've just established that now, but I'll let Dr. Imran come in there. And I am very, very surprised actually at just how perhaps cowardly these Tommy supporters are, because I mean, we're letting Jason make his point. Why don't you come on, make your point? Let's have the discussion. Why are you so shy all of a sudden? Why don't you want to come on the stream? It does surprise me actually. Dr. Imran.
Yeah, thank you, Abbas. So there's lots of things that have been said that need to be sort of unpacked a little bit. So I'm going to try and cover a couple of topics, but I'm going to need your input, Jason. Okay. So I'm going to ask questions as I go along because I'm going to try and understand what you're saying. Yeah. So let me deal first of all with this thing which is really insidious. Yeah. Because what you said was that when you were growing up in Burnley, I think it was Burnley you said that you were growing up in, there was this unsaid thing that these Muslims who are growing up in religious families, so these are now religious Muslims, their families are strict, and there was this unsaid thing that it was a free-for-all, and they would go out and do whatever they would to the white girls. Now, so I want you to tell me, are Muslims, and from your knowledge that you understand, so the way that grooming on the street works, and I want to re-emphasize Brother Abbas's distinction he was making that might have gone over a few people's heads. If you look at child sexual exploitation, this is all the children that are exploited sexually in the UK. What percentage do you think is grooming gangs? Of all child sexual exploitation, what percentage is grooming gangs? Tell me. Do you know, Jason? Have you heard of this before?
But those statistics are by, like the police and like the statistics of the government, they won't be accurate as to what the true situation is.
Because you've done this a few times.
Because within the political class, they don't want to upset minorities. So
here we go. Jason. This is the common thing that you're also doing. You can't trust the politicians. You can't trust the police. They're in it with the Muslims. They're in it with the minorities. This is a very dangerous narrative because the only response you can do in this situation where the politicians are against you, globalist elites, you said, yeah? The politicians are against you. The police are against you. They're allowing these minorities to attack your women. They don't want to upset these non-natives. The only reaction to that scenario that you can do is, I've got to take the law into my own hands. Now, this is what the meaning of these things, if you put them together, are. I can't go to the government. I can't go to our police force who are meant to enforce the law. We have to rise up and we have to protect our women. And this is the phraseology that you hear being used, and you're espousing the same stuff. Now, I want you to clarify this because this is really important, because you're using the rhetoric, but you're denying the outcome of that rhetoric. Okay. Now, are Muslims allowed so the way the grooming gangs work, so this is how they work, right? Young girls on the streets who late at night, early in the morning, are plied with drugs and cigarettes, etc. They take them and then they are abused by a group of men. Okay. So I want to ask you first a couple of basic questions. Does Islam allow Muslims to take drugs? It's a question, Jason.
I think he's
No,
frozen.
but many when I was a kid, many Muslims were
Hang on a
selling
second. Wait
drugs.
a
Young
second.
lads.
We're talking about Islam. One second. We're
They were
talking about
selling
Islam. One
drugs.
second.
But can I just
One
say this?
second.
That the government,
Jason,
the British
Jason,
government, is Machiavellian. It's Machiavellian.
Jason,
It's
you
against its
can't-
own. It's
You're saying the
against its
same thing
own
again.
people.
You're saying the same thing again. You're saying you can't trust
And
the
we've not
government,
got
right?
round to
One
Salman
second.
Rushdie.
I'm gonna say, just be calm. You have to listen to the question.
Salman Rushdie. Okay,
We'll come to Salman Rushdie. I will come to Salman Rushdie in a minute. I'll come to it, and I'll trump him with something else. Yeah, I'll trump him with River to the Sea. All right. Let's go to. You
can't trust the government.
Let's go to sex outside of marriage. Does Islam allow sex outside of marriage?
Sex outside of marriage. In the Quran, from my understanding, it's very disrespectful to women. No, but there's in the Quran, it's very disrespectful to women.
Jason,
so if that is the case, then that's going to follow into the culture.
Please do yourself a favor. If you're not going to engage, because I can make all these points without.
You're allowed to have other women. You're allowed to have concubines in Islam.
I'm asking you a question. Are you allowed to have sex outside of marriage? And you don't even have the testicular fortitude to give me a straightforward answer. Come on, you're a pastor, for God's sake. You're a Christian. You should stand up on the truth and justice.
The answer is you're allowed concubines, which is yes. You can have sex outside marriage. You can capture women. You can capture women in the Quran. In the Quran, you can capture women and have sex with them.
So you're saying that these were in war, these women were captured and they had sex. Is that what you're saying in Burnley? Is that what happened to you? Your friends were doing that?
I mean, I haven't got the Quran with me. That's in the Quran. Anybody can go and study the Quran.
Is that actually the claim that you're making?
Did Muhammad capture women and did he have them as his concubine?
Jason, I think you're insincere.
He's not listening to you, man.
So you are actually. I'm going to be very straightforward with you. You're a closet bigot.
Yeah.
You hide behind. You hide behind the nice external cuddly exterior.
You're a fascist. You're a fascist. I don't believe in free speech.
The reality is you are trying to tar a whole community because of some people that you met when you knew when you were young, who were doing things that the religion does not allow, Islam does not allow. Now I'm going to move on from that topic. So that you've been debunked on this thing.
1 second, Dr. Imran. He did admit to something, right? He said that the Muslim families were strict, hence the kids acted out in a way against the strict practice of Islam. So how can it be that the parents have a strict practice of Islam where sex outside of marriage is known, but now he doesn't know if that strictness? Do you understand the disparity there?
So in 2012, Jason, in 2012, where was the stabbing capital of the UK? In 2012, where was the stabbing capital of the UK?
Sorry?
In 2012, where was the stabbing capital of the UK?
I don't know. Glasgow, London.
Glasgow.
I don't know.
That's the
yeah.
Right,
okay.
well done.
How many? What's the demographic split in Glasgow? Why?
The reason why it's in Glasgow and the country.
I want you to give me the reason.
The breakdown of fatherhood.
Jason, I'm not interested. Jason, I'm not interested in the reason. I'm asking you the demographic split. What's the demographic split in Glasgow?
It's probably there won't be as many Muslims up that way, but there are many nice Muslims, Ijaz, just to put that there.
Jason, before you go on to the niceties, before you start massaging us, there is 90%.
But you guys are fascists. You're fascists.
90% of the more than 90% of Glasgow in 2012 was white. Okay, white Scottish. They had the highest knife crime rate in the country. I think it was 4 times higher than the national average. Yeah. Okay. Now, can you ask? Did anyone ask the question? What's wrong with these people's culture? Why are these white Christians or these white people doing these things? What's wrong with them? Why do people ask that question?
Because the reason is because our leaders lack wisdom, and they put in a plaster over a sore when they should go to the cause. And the cause is the fathers. There are a lack of fathers, and then they don't encourage family. And because they don't encourage family, families are broken down, and these kids get involved in drug dealing and knife crime. So it's because the leaders lack wisdom. They're not spiritually minded. They don't follow the word of God.
Great. Okay. So I actually appreciate your answer. So you're saying that the reason, so we've ignored the question why they didn't say this. I'll tell you why in a moment. But you've admitted that the underlying cause of the high knife crime in Glasgow, the majority white area in 2012, was because of social issues, the breakdown of the family, the lack of father roles, the lack of opportunities, jobs, whatever that might be. Where is the current highest crime, knife crime? Where is it happening at the moment?
I don't know, probably London.
South London, right?
Manchester, yeah.
A majority black area, right? The areas, okay. Why do you think it's happening there? Do you think it's because of their color?
No, it's again, even in that community, the fatherhood is broken down, the family's broken down in that community.
Great. So that's really important. Now, the problem now is we understanding humans are humans, no matter what the color of their skin is, and the same factors will affect them in the same way. So in Glasgow in 2012, they introduced social programs to help the people step out of this, and the crime rate dropped alongside stop and search. No newspapers said what is wrong with these people, what is wrong with their culture, what is wrong with their religion. They didn't make any of these points. For the people in South London, these exact points are run over and over again. If you look at the knife crime, most of it's black people, so there must be something about black culture that makes them more likely to commit crime. Oh, if you look at them, they're just more violent. Oh, look at all the crime that's committed. They do most of the crime. All of these things are. This is the difference when it comes to an ethnic minority. If someone does something wrong, you blame the whole community. It's called generalizing the negative. When it comes to white individuals in this country, what they do is they specify the negative. Oh, it's just a lone wolf. This guy's got an issue with his mental health. You don't blame the culture from that. Now, what I'm saying is that this is another example of the division that the politicians and the media are doing, and then they're creating fear. And Brother Zowi's point that he made earlier on is spot on. It's fear of the unknown. Because communities don't know each other, they're not interacting with each other, and people can step into that gap of not knowing actually what the other one is really like, and they can sow seeds of fear. And this is what the media do. This is exactly what the politicians have been doing for years. Now, I want to ask you a question. Maybe ask you a question.
I ask questions. I can't ask questions.
You can ask a question, but before you go on, I want to ask you a question. Yeah. You say that white people don't have the same rights as other communities in this country?
I'm saying that the indigenous British people, whether it be white or black or whatever, they don't have the same rights as the minorities.
They don't have the same rights. So can you tell me?
Wait a minute. Let me finish. No, Dr. Imran, let me finish. I can't just get a hotel. I can't just go to Dubai or any country, Ghana or anywhere, and be put in a hotel and everything be paid. People just come here, they go into a hotel, they get everything paid.
This is not true. This is not true.
It is true.
I've done that. I've been to Qatar and got my hotel.
There's a hotel around here full of people.
Actually, Chris is right. We got hotels in Qatar.
I'm a white man who was in Qatar, and all my hotel was paid for. What you on about? And I also in Saudi as well. I stayed in a guest house for 3 weeks in a village for free.
Well, I went to Dubai, and if you turn up at Dubai and you say, "Hey, I'm homeless,"
if I go see Sheikh Mohammed in Dubai, I'm sure I'll live there for free.
Because we're part of a club we're allowed people.
Jason, you know what? You know what I find, guys. If you just give me a chance, Jason. You know what I find?
Let me finish. Dr. Imran, just let me finish, please. No, why is it everybody's coming? They'll leave it. They're going through Germany. They're going through France, and they're coming to the UK.
All right, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that.
They're not going to Pakistan.
Yeah. All right, Jason, we'll talk about that. But you know what I find really upsetting here? I'm genuinely upset. I'm genuinely upset because you're a man of God. you're supposed to be a preacher who preaches turning the other cheek and being and loving your enemy. Yeah. And what I've heard today from you, Jason, is the same nonsense that comes out of the most ignorant, uneducated clowns that are racist, bigots, and Islamophobes. And I'll explain to you why. I'll explain to you why, Jason, right? Because you brought up grooming gangs. And then when Imran questioned you about the things that those people were doing, are they things that Islam allows? And guess what you did, Jason? You then said, because you, in times of war, you were allowed to capture people. And because that was allowed, therefore, somehow your religion basically allows this to happen as well, which is to rape young girls because they're not Muslim.
Drug them, rape them,
give them alcohol and stuff. Now, for me, a person who actually believes that is either completely ignorant of what Islam is, and I don't think you are, Jason, to be honest, or has so much hate in their hearts that you just have to get it out somehow. And it's a shame. It really is a shame, right? It's a real shame. Then you started talking about your anecdotal experiences. Then when I brought up a very highly respected individual by the name of Ella Cockbain, somebody who is, you know, a doctor who teaches, and she's not Muslim, she's white, she's a lecturer for insecurity and crime science at University College London, highly respected and reputable university, yes, where she holds a prestigious National Future Research Leaders Fellowship, right? What did you say? What were your words? Your words were liberal, leftist, scholar, yeah? This is exactly what ignorant people do. When they
hold
are
on, Abbas.
When they are confronted with data.
Abbas, is the data leftist? Did she make up the numbers?
Not at all. And here's the thing. You see, a clever man would have said, let me look at the data she has presented, the argument she has presented, and let me make up my own mind whether people like you and Tommy's supporters have actually given evidence, because this is what it should counter somebody's claim that provides evidence, that can provide hard evidence to counter her claim. Let me do that. But you didn't choose to do that, did you, Jason? What you chose to do is what all bigots do, all racists do. Oh, it's a leftist, liberal scholar. Let's just ignore her. Let's just sideline her.
Well, Abbas, just to be clear, he accused us of being leftist and fascist at the same time, which I don't think he knows how that works.
I think Dowie wants to say something. Can Dowie come in?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say something, is that, like I said, the truth doesn't matter.
You're attacking me as a person, not dealing with my arguments.
Can you have some decorum, please, Pastor Jason?
You haven't made any arguments, Jason.
Other than you got Muslim friends and a black wife.
But I am concerned, just to be clear, Jason, you said you knew people in your community that were committing sexual abuse, right? And you said that your family is well known in that area. What did you do about the sexual abuse at that time? Did you go to the police? Did you report it? How many cases of sexual abuse were you aware of? And what did you do in response to that?
No, I'm talking when I was about 12 or 13. I was just a kid, and I saw older Muslim men sleeping with white girls. That's what I saw.
Okay, where did you go? So, okay, this is good then.
That was a normal.
I'm interested.
A normal thing.
I'm going to bite here, Jason. Where did you see adults having physical relations with minors in your presence?
In my presence, I didn't see that. In my presence, I didn't.
You said that's what you know. You said that's what you know about. Older Muslim men sleeping with young girls.
Let me explain. When I was a kid, it was normal for Muslim young men to be sleeping with white girls and not marrying them and leaving them pregnant, and then they would get married to Muslim girls.
Okay, this is good. This is good.
Okay.
Earlier you
That
said
is what I
older
said.
men. Earlier you said
That is
older
what I
men
said.
with younger
That's
girls.
the word of older.
One second, Jason. If it's the case that young people are having relations, that has nothing to do with grooming. People of the same age range having relations is not grooming. So you're changing your story a bit too much now. Please clarify for the record. Please clarify for the record. Were you aware?
You did correlate with the grooming gangs, Jason.
Yeah. So let's be clear here, Jason. Were you aware, yes or no, of grooming gangs in your neighborhood when you were the age of 12 and 13?
Not at 12 or 13. When I got older, there were taxi drivers that were doing that.
How do you know that the taxi drivers were doing that?
Because it was well known in the community. It's
How
well
do you
known.
know? Okay, is the rumor the same as a fact for you?
When taxi drivers are there, wait a minute. When taxi drivers are there and they're sleeping with the girls, it's well known.
How
I'm
do
not
you
going
know
in
they're
the
sleeping
taxi
with the
phone,
girls?
man.
Jason, give me one
and you're
case
getting-
where you verified, Jason, please. Give me one case where you verified a single tax. So then how do you know it's true? Other than rumor, how do you know it's true?
When
I think that rather than sorry, Jason.
Doing
Sorry,
sociology
Jason,
when I'm 13, 14, 15. It was well known.
I agree. Jason,
but
I
not
agree.
only them, but it was white
Jason,
people doing it as well. So
okay, so white people were doing it as well. Okay, great. Brother Dowie, I'd like to hear you were about to say something.
We'll take Jason's word for it. It's reliable.
But in Islam, in the Quran, it's disrespectful to women. You can conquer women and bring them in and have sex with them.
You mean like in the Old Testament where you could take all the girls that hadn't slept with a man, or like women not allowed to speak in churches and teach?
Even the New Testament where you can grave someone and pay 50 shekels.
Muhammad is the main guy that you follow.
Jason, we're just going to get some. I think we need some more relevant input. I think a lot of the thing has been said, and I want to get particularly Dowie, Chris, and Jason, Jordan, your views on some of because I think that the perspective that maybe myself, Abbas, and Ijaz were talking about. I don't know if we're misviewing the perspective of the white community because we're not from that community. Yeah. We do empathize and we try and understand, but maybe we got it wrong. So
but you guys have just been demonizing.
Can somebody just kick him, please, man?
Dowie, please make your point, Dowie.
Yeah, you know what? The mistake that we're making
it's got no decorum. Sorry.
There's a couple of mistakes that we're making here is that when you're trying to argue truth and facts with people that have just detached from truth and facts, it's not the truth that matters to these people, it's what they believe and what they want to believe that's important. You put out all the statistics, I just don't believe that. Oh, that's the police, the very same police that they want to give more powers to when they're beating up immigrants. Okay, oh, it's the government. I don't believe in it. If that narrative, what this is being said, doesn't agree with what they want to agree with, then it's left wing, it's conspiracy, it's part of the problem and everything else. This is why you asked earlier why we've got Tommy Robinson supporters coming on the live. There's two reasons. One, there isn't as many as you think. There's people that agree with some of the stuff he says but disagree with him. And the second one is that this is the level. This guy here is uneducated in our religion and disingenuous, and he's the only one that's come on. You can imagine the state of the rest of them that do follow Tommy. They got nothing to input here. They wouldn't have any facts to put on the table. They would have anecdotal, my Asian mate slept with a white girl, so it goes on. It happens, or they're all drug dealers. How do you know? Well, I'm buying drugs off them. Well, there you go. You know, this is the sort of things that they talk about. Okay, this is the sort of things that they talk about. This is what it is. So you're trying to argue truth and facts with people that are just not interested in it. And that's why Tommy Robinson supporters, you've asked for Tommy Robinson supporters. If you'd have asked for people, we want people to come in here and talk about the immigration situation. But not necessarily Tommy Robinson supporters.
Yeah, I agree, actually. You're right.
You probably would have had people inputting. But you say Tommy, someone's got to come here and argue on behalf of Tommy. If you're listening to Tommy, you're not that smart.
Yeah.
You're not smart enough to get onto a debate with people that know something, let alone know as much as some of the brothers on this live now. So you're not going to come on and expose yourself. You're just not. I work with these people. I work with people that know Tommy Robinson. I mean, I'm related to people that are related, I know them well, and they don't like him. They might agree with immigration problems and the population is being taken over and it's not fair, but they don't like him. They're not followers of him, but they will, for some, they will have certain things and views that are in line. But he's out there talking. He's paid by we know who. He's there to agitate, and he does a very good job. And we give him way too much credibility and way too much airtime for what he is worth. Most of the people in Luton don't like him. Even his own people don't like him.
I think, Dowie, rather than ask people who support Tommy to come on, we should actually ask people who perhaps, feel that immigration is not fair or just to the British people, or that British people are suffering as a consequence of immigration, or British people are not, they're not getting housing, they're not getting jobs because of this immigration. And maybe we should have that conversation, because I think that conversation should be had.
That is the conversation.
Yeah. I think you're right, actually, Dowie. That's a good way to approach it. Okay, look, Jason, I'm going to let you have your last 30 seconds, and then we're going to get the next guest on, who's been waiting.
Allahu Akbar.
You're muted, Jason.
Sorry, go on, Jason. I've just unmuted you.
I think that it's a deeper malaise in the country. Britain collapsed in its Christian faith, and that's been going on for many, many generations. And the culture, our country's in a spiritual crisis. And people, the politicians, are using division on both sides, left and right. But above them are globalists who want to cause division and take over the country. And the rights of the indigenous people have been taken away. Islam is a threat in terms of Sharia law in the future. Muslims, the vast majority, are lovely people. Any attacks on any Muslims, I condemn 100%. But there is a two-tier system of police. And you guys, everything you said against me is coming back to you. You're the one who's demonizing me, calling me names, saying things to me.
Any examples of two-tier police? Anything to back up your claims?
You guys are well known. You guys are well known for being fascists. You don't allow free speech. You guys, you're well known for it.
More than anyone. You spoke more than anyone.
You've just had free speech now, Jason.
This is the first time I've ever been able to speak properly.
We're not fascist then.
No, 99% of the time you cut me off. You're only letting me on. You want to demonize me.
So we're only fascist. We're only fascist 99% of the time.
We're only fascist. But you are fascist. 99 times you're not letting me talk.
Jason, this is not really going anywhere.
I agree. I'm a fascist. I won't let you speak, man.
He had most of the talking.
Yeah.
He had most of the talking, and yet you don't give him a chance to talk. These people are detached from reality.
Just to make a point about something we do agree about. I do think that there is a spiritual vacuum in the West generally. In the UK, because we're living here, we see that. And I think that actually we do need a return of some religiosity, because it comes with that comes some values that are beneficial for society. Respect for the institution of marriage, procreation, actually having a standard of manners and how you would treat people. A lot of these things have gone, and we've got a lot of individualism, a lot of liberalism and individualism, which is causing further division, not only between members of the communities that we have, but individuals within families are becoming divided from each other. And all of this is leading to a general dissatisfaction with life. Even though we're living in one of the largest economies in the world, we're suffering. I'm not talking about the financial suffering, that's there. I'm talking about a spiritual, humanistic connection suffering. We need to be much more connected as human beings and as communities, so that, as Brother Dow was mentioning about this unknown that leads to fear and can be exploited, this can be reduced down. But anyway, I just thought I'd make that, because that's the point that I do agree with. Everything else, I think, was really quite disappointing.
I want to, okay, so good points, Dr. Imran. I just want to lay things out here just a little bit. People like Jason made a claim, why are so many immigrants coming to the UK? The last time I looked at a map, they had to go through Europe, individual countries, one by one, before they get to the UK. So you have to ask yourself, Jason, why are your fellow European nations simply allowing them to pass through? It takes coordination. People, a large population, doesn't just turn up in Germany one day and they go to France the next. There's not a thing like that. So, Jason, you have to ask yourself the question, why do people who agree with you, like the Tories or the Reform Party, right? Why are these parties saying that they can present to us a political solution to the problem of immigration, yet whenever they're in power, the immigration crisis seems to increase rather than decrease. And the funny thing is, you blame the migrants for that, but the
Yeah.
people who are letting them in through the gates are not us. We're not in control of the government. We don't create your policies for you. And let's be clear here. There's a term called blowback, right? When the UK bombs African nations or Middle Eastern nations, those populations will move, right? The solution, there's a political solution here, right? Which is that you don't instigate wars and regime changes in these countries. You build up their economies, their industrial capabilities. You provide them with social assistance in their own countries, and you're going to stop the migrants from coming. But you can't sit here and tell us in the same breath, let's bomb, kill, exterminate them. And at the same time, we should be totally surprised that innocent civilians will not want to live in a situation like that. You are responsible for that problem, Jason. And just one more thing quickly here. When you, as a white British man, claim that the British government has a two-tier system, let me ask you the question: who are the politicians? Who sits in the seat of government? It's not Dr. Imran, it's not Abbas. The Muslims are not in control of this. In fact, you can even look at the mayor of Greater London. He professes to be a Muslim, but the policies he enacts, the policies he rubber stamps, are by the British government, nothing from Islam, right? He allows gay pride marches, for example. That has nothing to do with Islam. So it just seems like your worldview is one, incoherent, two, it's not based on facts and figures and statistics, and three, it seems to me that Jason and people like him want to pass the buck of responsibility. Because if Jason was my preacher in my community and I lived in England, I can see the reason why there are so many apostates. I would not be comfortable in such a church. And let's be clear here. Jason says we're attacking him. I'll attack him on one point. If you, as a young man, you said the age of 12, 13, 14, 15, you were aware of older men seducing younger white girls, right? Minors, and abusing them and grooming them. And you did nothing, not even message the police, put anonymous reports in. And even to this day, Jason, what are you doing now about it? Did you submit one report for something in your own neighborhood? Show us that you're actively trying to correct the mistakes that you think people are doing in your community. But I don't see that from you, Jason. There's a lack of rigor behind your words. And just one more point. Jason said if Muslims were being attacked and Muslim places of worship were being attacked, or Muslim women, he would be out there in the streets protecting these people and these places. Okay, Jason? There were riots over the last 4 days. Please tell me one place you went to protect the Muslim community. Just one example, rather than you supporting it online. Sorry if I took up too much time.
No, that's fine. I think it's exactly what I was going to say to Jason. He's talking about immigrants coming and bypassing so many countries. How many countries did we bypass to bomb Syria and to bomb Iraq? How many countries were between us and Iraq? Iraq was supposed to be a threat, and so we went and bombed it. And most of the refugees are coming from Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq. They make up the bulk.
Jason is a part of the problem.
Yeah. So the point I'm trying to make to you here is that, we're not saying you have to therefore let all Iraqis and Afghans and all people in. Of course, we're not saying that. There has to be sensible immigration. There has to be sensible numbers coming in. There has to be some sort of vetting. Of course, we want to make sure that we're all safe, that we don't allow people who are involved in criminality, or if they come here and they involve themselves in any serious crime, I think it should be one of the reasons why people get kicked out of the country. If you come here and you commit rape or violent crime or something, we're not saying immigration and having controls is not a good thing. But when you start talking about these people as if, they're hopscotching over all of these different countries, well, the reason why a lot of them are doing that is because we went and bombed their countries and destroyed their economies and destroyed their lands. Now, I'll give you a classic example, Jason, of my own family, right? My family is from India. And unless you've forgotten, Jason, the British Empire had quite a lot of activity in India for hundreds of years. And India had 21% of the global economy. And when Britain left, Jason, after teaching us English, yes, after they left, the economy was down to 3%. Okay? And then guess what happened, Jason? And then the Home Office would come with tables in towns and cities and villages, and they would say to the Indian people, come and work in England. Because the Second World War had devastated the UK. We had a great labour shortage here. Houses, when my father got here in 1956, he could still see bomb damage in the streets. There were certain streets where there was still, but we hadn't built the country back. Yeah. And the Indians were told, come here, you'll be able to live here. Your kids will have good schools. You'll be able to get yourself a house, and you'll be able to, provide for your families and stuff like that. So guess what, Jason?
Abbas, they did that for my people too, the Windrush generation, the people from the Caribbean. We came to build Britain back, and then they threw us out.
Yes, Caribbean community were offered the same thing. And if you look, in the 50s and the 60s, the Afro-Caribbean community were a big community that came over, shiploads of people, because they were encouraging them to come, because they needed people to work on the London transport. They needed people to take the jobs that they couldn't have people here for. So these people came, and they had kids, and they had families. And Jason, nobody's stopping English people from having kids or getting married. You chose not to get married. You chose not to have children. You chose
to marry an African. Just to be clear, he perpetuates the same problem that he's complaining about: a reduction of the white race. And Jason, who did you marry? It's not a personal attack, but you should be aware of it. He's contributing to the same problem he's accusing others of having caused.
And so, anyway, I'm going to finish my point. We're going to get the next guest on, and I just want to quickly put this comment up here. It's from Peter Lee. Stop Muslim rape gangs. Do you know what, Peter? If you had any integrity and you had any decency, you know what you would have said? Stop all rape gangs. It doesn't matter whether they're Muslim, mate, or white, or atheist, or Christian. It doesn't matter. These are kids. We should be stopping any type of abuse, all children from any abuser, regardless of what religion or race. And for your information, Peter, you ignorant fool, most rapes and most child abuse is not committed by Muslims in this country.
That should say stop Jason's rhetoric.
You know what it is? When they say...
Sorry, just one more thing. There is a point here for Sharia law to come into play, because the rapist will have a severe punishment to face. I want to ask the people who support Tommy Robinson, would you rather support the current punishments for rapists under the British legal system, or would you prefer what Islam says to do with them?
Exactly. Anyway, Jason, thanks for coming on. And I hope you learned something today, Jason.
No, I think you're biased, guys.
Of course we are. Of course we are. Yeah, of course we are. We're a fascist and biased now.
Sorry, guys. Look, can we just take the tempo down a bit, guys? Sorry, Dowie, brother, you were about to say something.
Yeah, I think when white people speak about immigration and about culture, the immigration that they're really worried about at the moment is Muslim immigration. Okay, because they see the Muslim religion as a culture as well as a religion, and that's the threat to their culture. Okay, that's what now. I mean, you can talk facts and figures about who bombed Iraq and why the Afghans are coming here. The message that the likes of Nigel Farage and all these other Tommies and that is very simple. You know the problems that you got, it's the Muslims' fault. You don't have to think about it. You just have to, don't worry about the facts. We're going to tell you what the facts are, and you're going to believe them, because it's not your fault, it's their fault. And it really is. When I speak to people about immigration and about these culture things at work and stuff like that, and to other people, it's the Muslim thing, it's the Muslim side of it that they're worried about. They're not worried about the Indians, they're not worried about the black people, they're not worried about anybody else. If you're Muslim, you're a problem. Now, if it wasn't based upon, if it was, I'm white, Jordan's white, Chris is white, we're hated in the white community by these people because we're Muslim, not because we're white.
And you're traitors. You're seen as traitors.
Oh yeah, we're definitely traitors, yeah. I don't go around burning my own country and attacking my own police. but we're still traitors. You see, you can't talk logic and facts and figures with these people because they don't want to think, because thinking hurts. So what they want is for someone to tell them your problems, that you're living in a council estate, don't have to take responsibility for that. You live in a council flat, you haven't got a great job, or you haven't got a job at all. You know, the Muslims, it's their fault. And and they've been doing it for 10, 20 years, and it works. It's a very simple message.
Yeah.
And they've made careers out of this message, which is why when people talk about, white people talk about immigration, if you ask them what immigration are they talking about, it's Muslim immigration. When you ask them about their country being taken over, who's it being taken over by? Muslims, Sharia law, this, that. That's what they think. Oh, you're getting into politics. Oh, you're going to take over the country. You're going to have more power than us at some point. It's the Muslim thing. This is racism, but like in the 70s and 80s, it was good old-fashioned racism.
Yeah.
They just didn't like you, okay?
Yeah.
Now it's racism and Islam. So we've got the double problem now, okay? So like I said, all racists hate Islam, but not everyone that hates Islam is racist.
Yeah. I think I had a really good argument, Dowie, which goes like this. It goes like, you can't reason somebody out of an opinion that they weren't reasoned into.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. We're arguing facts with these people.
Yeah.
We're arguing truth.
Yeah.
And they're not interested because it doesn't help what they feel. You know, if people are absolutely invested into believing that their problems can be given to someone else's someone else's fault, they don't want to let go of that.
Yeah.
Why would you let go of that? Your life is so crap because of him.
Yeah.
Why would you let go of that?
So, Dowie, can I ask you a question then? How do you propose? Because obviously, the question, one of the reasons for doing this stream is to try and have a conversation. It seems like it's probably not going to happen. We'll see what the next guest is like. So how do we then, if talking and giving facts isn't the way, what is the way to try and get
it is
through?
The way, bro. Sorry, there's two ways. There's two things there's lots of things, but there's two main things. The truth is always the way. So we always have to speak, even if these ignorant people, it's going to hit somebody. It doesn't have to hit everyone, you know.
Dowie, I expected you to say that the truth is the way, but I didn't expect you to finish the rest of that. It's the truth and the life. Okay, it's a joke. A quote from.
He's saying you're quoting the Bible, Dowie.
You have to live with him for a few weeks to
understand
this.
And the other thing is, just like Farage and that lot have stuck to their game plan, which is blame the Muslims and the immigrants and the Muslims and crime and grooming gangs and drugs. It's all one big pot for them, and they can blame that. It's a very simple message and simple messages are the best ones. Just like they've stayed on their game plan, we have to stay on ours, and that is teaching people Islam.
That's great.
That's the game plan for us.
Yeah.
Worrying about Tommy Robinson, worrying about Nigel Farage, worrying about Katie Hopkins and all these people, it's irrelevant. You know what I mean? In the sense, because the people that believe them will always believe them, and you catch a few of them. But most of the people are not. Look how many people are counter demonstrating.
Yeah.
And some of these people that are going to these riots are not even believers of Tommy Robinson. They're just going along.
Yeah.
If there's 10,000, well, I don't think there's 5,000 of them. 2,000 of them may be Tommy Robinson supporters. The other 3,000 are just there.
Yeah, yeah. I remember Chris saying that to me, because Chris obviously used to march against Muslims, didn't you, Chris? And I remember
organized.
And I remember Chris saying once, and it was quite telling, really, because I remember you, Chris, explaining that it's the camaraderie, it's just
the gang.
Yeah, the gang, the lads.
The sense of belonging.
I don't remember getting any free Crocs anyway.
Free Crocs
from Shoezone.
That was a joke.
But it was Chris. You said it was a feeling of belonging. It was a feeling of like, your comrades are in action, and it was just that feeling of being with the people that you.
Where the young white men feel that their culture is being threatened, and you get a load of them together, they can re-identify and reclaim what they think is their culture. Like football, football is a cultural thing to young white lads, young white men, or even old ones now, that they go out and they think that's part of what they do. So it's their tribe, it's their gang, it's their thing. Normal. Okay, I was never a football fan, but I can see where they were drawn to that. I can see why they think it is. And now you're telling them, these people, then the Muslims, they're taking all your women, they're taking your jobs, they're taking your houses, they're going to take over, they're going to go into politics, and you need to get your identity back. The best way to do that is to come on a march.
Yeah. Have you noticed there's a new now sort of a new wave of I don't know if you noticed that Tommy, if you follow any of it or even you see it at Speaker's Corner. So a few weeks ago at Speaker's Corner, Some EDL lot came down, and they don't like to say they're EDL because they morph into other things. But they're still, they are still EDL, but they're shouting out Christ is King. So there's now this Christian element that's clinged on, and Jason represents that. They suddenly, if you notice, a lot of when Bob the Builder was on stage with Tommy Robinson. I mean, how embarrassing is that? So Tommy, someone who represents none of Christian values, the geezer goes on brothels, cocaine parties, steals donations, racist, and Christians are aligning with this guy and saying Christ is King, and they're trying to. Basically, it's kind of a way of all of a sudden our values are now Christian.
Yeah, but Jordan, then you got Jason Jason Burns saying that he's upset that people are leaving Christianity.
Yeah.
You're associating yourself with cocaine snorting, law breaking,
wife abusing.
His hate for Islam is more than for his love for Christianity, obviously.
Cheating and skullduggery, and not respecting any institution in the UK. Everyone.
Him and Bob are melting down Christianity, also, aren't they? They're also responsible by doing these things.
And then you wonder why people are not respecting these Christian preachers, because they're aligning themselves with fascists, racists, Islamophobes, thugs, basically thugs. And and it was very interesting actually, because Jason didn't come on the show first to say, look guys, what is happening is disgusting, it's despicable, and I just do not. He started saying things like, you got to understand a Malay, you've always got to understand the context of why people are rioting when it's not Muslim people. When it's Muslim people, there's no context, of course. We don't need to understand why they're rioting. When it's Christians doing it, or when it's white people doing it, then there's a Malay, there's a whole lot of
victimization. That's the word.
Yeah. Do you remember, Abbas, I said at the beginning that there were 4, you could ask 4 different protesters or rioters and they'll all say 4 different things. Jason said all of them in sound bites.
Yeah.
He said every single one.
Exactly.
And he didn't bring it. He said 2-tier policing with no basis. He said Islamization, Sharia law in 20 years.
Exactly.
He had a mate who abused someone in a taxi back when he was 12.
Yeah.
All absolute nonsense, but the parroted kind of Tommy Robinson sound bites.
And
the reason why I say he's insincere is because he pretends. He came on like, I've got Muslim friends. I love Muslims. We're all and then he puts, he sort of just rolls those out next to it. Sorry, go ahead.
I've got a point to make about what I've seen and stuff like that from obviously me marching with the EDL and then watching it to now. There's a sense of victimization. If you watch what Jason was saying, he were victimizing the community, even the criminals in the community, so they can justify their actions. And I've watched it so many times. And one of the main things that they always point is that I'm not racist, I've got a black friend, or I'm not racist, my friends are Muslim. And this is a way to differ you from thinking they're racist, even though the connotations and everything that comes around it are racist. And when it comes to Jason, man, he could burn toast and blame the toaster. He just victimizes absolutely everything he talks about. He's a victim of it. He's a victim. Yeah. And it's one of the biggest problems that we fell for in this country. And that's why we're rioting and doing what we're doing, because we play victim and everyone else is to blame. You're the problem. You're not the one who's gone and got a job looking after your family. How are you on the street throwing stones when you're meant to have a family at home? Yeah. Why would you rob from Greg's, rob from Shoe Zone to sit in prison for a year or 2? It doesn't make sense.
They burnt Greg's locations down. I don't understand that. It's British food.
It doesn't make sense.
This goes to show the power of Islam and the statue that all of these people that don't get on, the Bob the Builders or however, I don't even know who that guy is, but all of these people, the Christians, they all have to get together to attack us. Who do we get with?
Yeah. Agreed. But can I add?
People have to come together, all of them from around the world.
Yeah. Can I get the next guest on after you, Jordan, and then?
Can I just ask, because it sort of segues onto that? Because I think to anyone watching, especially if you're a Patriot, British Tommy fan, don't take by how we treated Jason as how we're going to treat everyone. Because again, he was insincere. If you're, we really desperately, the whole point of the stream was to speak to people that have genuine questions. People that are, day-to-day people in Britain that have an issue and they do follow this line of thinking. So I just wanted to make that point that we're still up for the conversation. I feel like the stream hasn't really started yet.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I remember when we started the stream, I said I want the stream to be hopefully making bridges, not burning them.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to be a Tommy supporter to come on the stream, but if you're genuinely concerned about immigration, or you're genuinely concerned about, you know, too many people in your area, or the demographics changing rapidly in your area, or you feel that we have two-tier policing or two-tier politicians who sort of favor the Muslims. Look, we are prepared to hear your arguments, but all I would ask you to do is, unfortunately, what Jason perhaps didn't allow us to do, or certainly didn't allow the conversation to go that way, which is that in psychology, we learn about people who are concept driven and data driven. Concept driven are people with ideas, and they only look at things that reinforce their ideas, confirmation bias, and they're not prepared to look at any evidence or information that is provided. When I provided the evidence of Ella Cockbain, who's a respected academic, who's not Muslim, she's white, probably middle class, right? And she comes out with a series of data that explains that what was happening around Rotherham and around these areas is not exclusively to do with Muslims. And in fact, the whole picture of grooming and of abuse in this country is 1 out of every 6 women. That's the statistic. 1 woman out of 6 women has had some form of sexual abuse. Now, this is a big problem. And as a community, as a Muslim community, Christian community, atheist community, we need to all get together and protect our women. And it doesn't matter to me if it's a Muslim or a Christian or a Jew or an atheist or a Hindu or a Sikh that abuses a child. We have to collectively work together, condemning these people, enforcing the law, or getting the government to enforce the law in the harshest way possible with this type of cancer that is affecting society. Now, one of the very interesting things that Ella Cockbain said is that this false narrative actually caused resources to be redirected from child abuse and child exploitation as a whole, to be redirected to something that wasn't a real issue or real problem, okay, in a sense that it wasn't the way that it was described. So the effect of it was that there were girls probably that were abused as a consequence of this false narrative. Now, surely, as people within the community who have a heart, have a soul, have empathy and sympathy for all human life, we should be asking the question, is that the sort of country we want to live in? Is that the sort of society that we want to build? And I would hope not. But so you're welcome to come on and we can have a nice discussion. Amir, if you want to just put your camera on for a couple of seconds so I can identify you again. I know that you did have it on earlier, but I'd just like to interact with you for a couple of seconds. You can turn your camera off before you come live on the show. But Amir, I just do need you to just switch your camera on for a few seconds, if that's okay. Amir, if you want to come on, you've been waiting for a while, but I need you to have your camera on just for a few seconds. Okay, you're not putting your camera on, so I'm not going to be able to get you on. Brother Muhammad, this is a stream actually for non-Muslim. Amir, just give me a quick wave if you can, if I can see your face, please. Amir, just lower the camera a bit so I can just see your face. Just give us a thumbs up, please, if that's okay. Lovely. We're going to get you on next, Amir. Welcome to the stream. Amir, welcome to the stream.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Amir. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm well. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. What would you like to say today, Amir?
Well, yeah, I was listening about everything what you said, you guys are talking about, and Emre is a Turkish name. Yes, I'm Turkish. I was born in the Netherlands, and well, I was listening, and what I noticed was that Muslim, alhamdulillah. Okay, I lost the train of my thought. But anyway, I wanted to say that racism is a weapon of mass destruction, and I'm blocking right now. To be honest, this is my first.
Not a problem. So let me ask you a question.
And my
How
English is not so
whereabouts in Europe? You said you live in is it in Holland? Did you say? Oh, sorry, what was that?
Yeah, Holland, in the Netherlands.
And what's it like there in terms of? I mean, are you guys getting reports there of what's happening in the UK?
Oh yeah. The riots. I mean, I was perplexed when I saw that, and I automatically linked it with the US and the protests.
Yeah.
And I compare that, and then you see the mainstream media just, I don't know, calling them anti-Semites and terrorists in the United States. And then when I looked at the UK, I was thinking like, what the fuck? Oh, sorry for my language. But I think I have to cut this. I'm not
No problem.
prepared. I was watching.
But so what is the general media reporting on the issue in England? Are they sympathetic to what the what the people are doing, or are they actually criticizing these people?
No, sympathizing. Actually, I think that that's gonna it's gonna come to Europe. I see it happen. What's now happening in the UK is gonna happen in the Netherlands. I'm sure about that.
So are the media there reporting that this is because of Muslim immigration, this is because of Islamification, or are they saying that these are thugs, these are criminals? What are they actually? Are they sympathizing with the criminals, or are they actually, or are they actually sympathizing with the victims who are the Muslims here?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're all stupid. I mean, the facts are that that guy was a Christian who did it.
Yeah.
And everything was based on that, and there was nobody on the right side calling them to calm down, and it was not a Muslim, and make it neutral and talk about it. But yeah, it's like the Tommy guy and that Farage guy. It's Islamophobia. It's and yeah, what bothers me most is that the West is completely built on colonizing, using immigrants, and then blaming them, and then want them to leave the country, and so there's some kind of unfairness, I think. I mean, if you look at Africa, it's literally the richest continent on earth. But the West is exporting everything, stealing it, lying, deceiving. And what I see happening now is like Turkey, Russia, China, they are going to Africa and other places to actually help them, build them. Of course, not for nothing. They're going to get, let's say, 5% of something. But it's honest, you give, you take. But the West, the Western world, the colonizers, I call them, they come with lies. They set people up against each other. They give weapons to, I don't know. I mean, we have a limited amount of how do you call it, metals, oils, diamonds, gold. It's limited.
Yeah. So Amir, basically what you're saying is that rather than look at what's happening in England and thinking that these are just thugs who are attacking and being racist and bigoted, they're actually being supported by the Western media, who are actually saying that this is what happens when too many Muslims basically come and live in your country, which is really, I suppose, what one would expect. But Emir, thank you for coming on, brother. It was nice to speak to you.
Before you go, Emir, I want to ask you a question, because there was a comment that I read, and it actually has the same name as yourself, and I'm going to just put it up on the screen.
Okay.
Did you write that?
Okay. It's the first time I saw it. Yes, immigrants are teleported with a boat. Yeah, it was sarcastic. It was like
Oh, I see.
mean,
That's
That's
fine.
sarcasm straight away. I see.
Okay,
that
great.
was
So,
that
okay,
was sarcasm. I mean, people act like, yeah, I don't know.
Because that is your because that comment. I'm glad it was sarcasm. I just wanted to clarify because that is the perception that people have.
Yeah,
They've
exactly.
got this idea that somehow there's a red carpet for people as soon as they land, that money is thrown at them. And the
Yeah.
reality of it is that the reason that we're struggling in many Western countries, but particularly in the UK,
Yeah.
is that in 2008 we gave 137 billion pounds to the banks to stop them from failing. And then in 2019, 2020, over the lockdown, the government gave away 310 billion pounds, and that all that money has gone to the 1%. The people who have all of the money gets siphoned there, and the country is paying. The people who are paying this are the working class, the middle class, who have to work.
Yeah.
If there's a middle class left now,
Yeah.
they are the ones that are having to pay this back. And
Yes.
that's where a lot of the austerity has come from, and a lot of the difficulties in the country have come from. And
Yeah, but
it's this problem that is causing the deficits that we see within the country.
yeah, but it's also the politics. I mean, we had a foreign minister, and he literally said that it was like 10 years ago. They want to cut the money for everything except for immigration and defense. I mean, there's a link between that, the link between immigration and defense. I mean, military complex. I mean, fighting wars and not expect immigrants come to a place where it's safe and they twist it around. I mean,
You know,
like
the biggest source of, if you just look at the places that are making the most money, it's the military industrial complex. These guys, they make money.
No. It's the meat industry. Sorry if I'm correct. It's the meat industry. It's the biggest. But okay, also I have to admit the military complex is huge.
Yeah, so it's the military industrial complex. They are making literally they go into places, they destroy them, they take over resources, they get paid to give the weapon supplies to use to carry the war out. Then they also have the companies that will do rebuilding, and they're given the contracts to rebuild those same places. The natural resources. So there is a lot of money in war, and this is one of there's a lot of underlying issues that need to be dealt with. But one way of trying to show people that the reason that you're struggling in your society that you're living is because of the Johnny Foreigner over there, not because of the fact that we've actually taken your money and we've misused it or wasted it or given it to people who already have lots of money. But Amir, really appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much, dude.
Thank you. It was my first time, and I think I did well. I need to improve my English a little bit.
No, not at all, Amir. Not at all. I mean, you did very well, and we had a lovely conversation with you. And you're more than welcome to come back again, inshallah.
Yeah, for sure. I want to thank you all. I've learned a lot from you guys, and I wish you a good night. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, brother Amir. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum.
So yeah, I mean, so the thing is that we did offer people who are worried about immigration, worried about the Islamification of the UK, but not many of you have chosen to come on, which is a shame, because I would have liked to really had those meaningful conversations. We're not here to debate you, to make you look bad. We are here to hopefully understand your position, and hopefully that you hear our position, and wherever the evidence lies, that's perhaps where we should both go, right? But it's a shame that not many people have decided to show up, but that's fine. My message really to non-Muslims that might be watching but perhaps don't want to come on the show, right, is that evidence and data are very, very important in engaging the way you make your conclusions. because otherwise, if you're not prepared to be guided by evidence, then you are no better than a sheep who is just guided by the sheepdog, by the farmer. And we all know who the media is owned by, billionaires, and they have their agendas. We all know what social media and these platforms are influenced by and supported by. And so you have to ask the question that the things that I believe, are they grounded in evidence? Are they grounded in fact? Or don't I care? I mean, if you don't care, fair enough, then there's no point having a discussion, quite frankly. But if you do care, that you don't want to be lied to, you do care that you want to base your opinions based upon truth, not rumors, not falsehood. If you really do care about that, then we can have that discussion, and hopefully it'll be a fruitful discussion. But it's a shame, as I say, that many people have to perhaps become maybe nervous. Oh, it's a Muslim stream. Maybe these guys are going to be hostile. We certainly wouldn't have been. But we've got probably about another 45 minutes or so before we end the stream. Dowie, I think you need to shoot off. Is that right, Dowie?
Yeah, I need to sleep.
Before you go, Dowie, I just wanted to ask you, because I know that you've started a new business in terms of helping Muslims and helping people with what sort of things are you doing at the moment, and how can some of the Muslim brothers and sisters benefit from some of your work, inshallah?
Yeah, I'm on the usual social medias. I think the biggest one for me at the moment seems to be Instagram as Al Rijal, which is a fitness a men's development and fitness channel. It dealing with nutrition and training and just some common sense tips, really. So I'm doing at the moment some online personal training, coaching, inshallah, and
how can people reach you? How can people reach you, Dowie?
If you go to we've got a website, Al Rijal website, you can reach me there, or you can just DM me on Insta or TikTok and YouTube as well, and I'll send the information over that way.
Is that the link that we've got on the screen there?
Yeah.
All right, guys. So inshallah ta'ala, if you want to benefit from a healthier lifestyle and you want a bit of help from Dowie, because I know Dowie, mashallah, you helped a few brothers, one of our own. I'm not going to name him just in case he doesn't want to get named, but I know that he really did like the advice and like the meal plans and how to structure them and the training and everything. And I know that he did actually lose quite a lot of weight, mashallah, doing that. So if any of you want to benefit, inshallah, from a healthier lifestyle, healthier, inshallah, life, then definitely give Brother Dowie a call or a link or contact, and inshallah ta'ala benefit from that, Brother Dowie. Is it? And so you've been doing it for a few months now, haven't you, Dowie? It's been
it's been going on for a while. You have to build a little presence on social media, don't you? You can't jump on it and have to sort of pick up a little bit of traction, a bit of notice. Alhamdulillah, it's starting to happen now. I mean, there's other things going on. Inshallah, I'll be doing a paid platform where they get loads of all the people that can't really afford my services as a online coach. We're going to put an affordable, cheap platform up, which they get all the same sort of information anyway. But it'll just be in a group, and I think that'll be a lot more helpful for most of the people anyway. So we're going to be doing that very soon, inshallah.
You've already got a new follower, Brother DD here. He says I've already followed him.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, the more the merrier, bruv, because it gives you a wider audience to get out to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that my target audience is Muslim men, which seems to pee a lot of people off. Okay, but anyone is welcome, except women can be on the channel, but I just don't train women. I just don't take them on as clients. But they're more than welcome to be on the platform and watch. But my target audience will be Muslim men, because I'm a Muslim man. So obviously I'm going to prioritize that first. But anyone that, even if non-Muslims want help, I mean, I do train non-Muslims anyway, not a problem. At the boxing club, I train them. So it's not a problem for me to train them. It's just that's the target audience. So
Brother Dowie, there's a statement from Umar radiallahu anh about he saw a man who had a large belly, and he said to the man, "What is this?" And the man responds and says, "This is a blessing from Allah." And Umar radiallahu anh says to him, "No, rather this is a punishment."
Yeah.
So the Muslims are encouraged to have their belly not protrude their chest.
Yeah.
Men, I'm not, obviously the sisters have exceptions to this, but generally speaking, so the fact that this is really what you're doing is in line with the hadith. Make the
the Muslim Ummah strong and fit. And I'm glad that people should support you in your work. And I think that from what I've heard as well, I'll just reiterate that, mashallah, you do good work and people should take
Well, as Muslims, well, we have to give value. We have to give value for money, and we have to give value to the community anyway. So yeah, I mean, it's a nice job to do because you're helping people. You're sort of helping and encouraging Muslim men to get fit, because they're some of them are they're out of shape, they're a little bit comfortable, I say, but there's nothing that can't be changed around and swapped around. And like I say, there's a long way to go with this, inshallah. Me and Brother Ben are going to push this and try and reach as many people as we can and help as many people as we can as well.
Inshallah.
So that's the plan. Because obviously,
Brother Dawi, just one quick thing. When Dr. Imran said that the belly should not protrude the chest, yeah. But for the guys out there who've got very big sort of saggy chest, that doesn't count. Yeah.
It's not that. I mean, people get daunted by the whole losing weight and getting into shape. It ain't that. It's not. The problem is there's a lot of coaches out there that give advice that they've never done themselves, and especially if you're Muslim, you need especially when you're giving people advice about fasting and Ramadan and training and things like this, you need to have lived that life. You need to be part of that. You can't just go around giving people advice. They give advice about low carb diets. They've never done it. High carb, they've never done it. Powerlifting, they've never done it. MMA, they've never done it. Bodybuilding, they've never done it. You can't give advice to people that you haven't worked on yourself. You have to know that. You don't have to have reached high levels at it, but you at least have to know what that feels like when you're giving it to someone else to do.
Yeah.
And
it's very interesting. Very interesting you said that, because Dr. Imran and myself, we were recently on just about to complete our coaching course, and on that course, it's exactly what the sister said, isn't it, Imran?
Yeah.
She said you can't teach somebody time management if you can't manage your own time, right?
Yeah.
And you can't teach somebody, how to eat properly if you've got a belly that's the size of, of Jordan. Sorry, Jordan, you're quite slim.
You meant the country.
What you mean?
Yeah. But you know what I mean. I mean, so you have to live by example, basically, and obviously that works a lot better. But Dawi, look, we wish you all the best, mashallah. Jazakallah khair for coming on today.
No problem.
And, we've got your link, and maybe I'll get Anis to put it in the community chat as well, that if brothers want to benefit, inshallah, and if sisters want to benefit, obviously you don't do personal training for the sisters, but they can maybe take your meal plans or
from the information.
Yeah, I mean, the sisters can help out as much. I mean, it's nice to have sisters on the channel watching and commenting sometimes, because they give a bit of balance for the brothers. And obviously anything that I do with a brother is non-judgmental. If they're out of shape and they send me pictures, actually I'm used to that. I'm not there to take the mickey. I'm there to help. I'm there to encourage. I'm there to support. I'm there to help. I'm not. If someone is out of shape, then that's what I need. I need the guys that are out of shape. That's who I'm trying to help in the first place. So
may Allah give you barakah, and inshallah make it a success. And Jazakallah khair, Brother Dawi, for coming on. And I know you've got to shoot off, but inshallah you're more than welcome to join us again.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Assalamu, Brother Dawi. Assalamu alaikum. I think it's really, really important. Sorry, brother.
Chris, I just want to ask you, because you're in Leeds at the moment, aren't you?
I certainly am.
Yeah, mashallah. So how have things been with you? Because I want to say just a couple of things about what's going on as well, just before. But how have things been for you? Because a lot of things are happening up there. They seems to be much more located in the northern areas, and south out of London. So how have things been like for you, brother?
So it all started right. Well, not too far from my house in lovely Airils with the Roma community, which they lived in Romania, but the Roma community are not Romanians, and the travellers. So we have a large. So basically, what's happened in Leeds, what I've noticed is, you've got the Pakistani area, you've got the Roma area, you've got the Czech Republic area, you've got the African area, and there's not been no integration at all. It's all been simulated into like, well, I would say it was a far right way of doing things, but everyone's been put in their own community. So when them police come to take them kids, what happened was, before the police could respond, and this is where they're getting the two-tier policing wrong. They're saying the police ran off. The best thing for the police to do was run off, because they didn't have the equipment, they didn't have the people, because they weren't expecting 2,000 people to turn up on the street.
Can I just clarify? So what happened was that a child was taken to A&E and was found to have a non-accidental injury. This is an injury that's caused deliberately to a child. And then immediately when that happens, social services become involved because there could be potentially other children in that household which are in danger of physical abuse. So what happened was some social workers went to the home of this Roma family and tried to take the children, and then that caused a backlash. But sorry,
it's called the backlash. What the police want. So because a lot of these far right and these fascists, what they're trying to do, they're trying to use that as an example for two-tier policing because they ran off. But the police weren't ready. The police weren't expecting that many people to come out at once. But what you've done, you've put a community together who it's the most impoverished area on the planet. 10 people live in 4-bedroom houses in that community. It's one of the most poverty lines. So loads of people came out and they ran off, and then the far right are trying to use that as two-tier policing. It's definitely not two-tier policing when it comes to that. But that's where it stems from, and well, it's an excuse. Then they tried to use the Manchester airport as an excuse, and then they tried to use the Southport. Unfortunately, 3 little girls was unalived by someone who were from Wales, who comes from an ethnic background of Rwanda. It's just here in Leeds. Actually, we've got more people against fascist. We've got a fascist movement here. You know, the Hope Not Hate stuff, all that. So on Saturday, when there was a demonstration here, you had 50 people on the left at Town Hall from the what would call, well, I don't even know what to call them these days. They take the ideology of the EDL, and then you had about 500 people on the other side. So they was ushed out of Leeds quicker than there was in Leeds. So that nothing really happened here, but it was places like Sunderland where there's not many migrants, not many Muslims there. There's about 1-2 mosques. So they took advantage of that, and they took advantage of it in Southport. It wasn't. So you can see where they took advantage. But for example, they won't come to Bradford. There's no chance you would see any of them come down Leeds Road in Bradford. Not a chance. So Bradford is probably the safest city in the UK right now. It is. I said to some of my friends, I'd move to Bradford for a couple of weeks.
That's a good one.
Can I just say something? Just say something.
You can maybe sleep on a sofa in garden there, Jordan. You'll be safe, lad.
In the mattress.
If I can just say something quickly, which is the people who use the term fascist, I don't think they know what that means. I also don't think they know what they mean by far right or left leaning. So just to set this straight, I do agree with Chris that you will find more of these types of people in impoverished areas. And Dr. Imran was right. The child did sustain a head injury, if I'm not mistaken.
We don't know whether that's true, though, still, you know. But I mean,
it's a fact that there's a head injury. What's disputed is how the child got it. What the Roma, that's what they identified as. They said that their children were playing, and one of the kids accidentally fell. I don't believe that to be the case, but in any case, the social workers came with, I think, 1 police officer, I think, because they don't typically expect a riot to a large response. And in this case, the community was stirred and there was a danger to the life of the social workers and the police. So they had to do a strategic withdrawal. That said, it's hypocritical of these people who were complaining about the Birmingham airport incident and saying, oh, Muslims are terrible because one of the female coppers got punched in the face, when they were throwing bricks and tires and fireworks at police officers who, by the way, did sustain injuries. And unfortunately in Southport, because the force had to divert resources to the riots, they were unable to carry through with the full-time investigation of how those innocent girls were targeted. They diverted important resources. Had the government not stepped in, that police department in that area would not have been able to carry through with the investigation in the timely manner in which it did so. So not only did they hamper the investigation, not only did they cause further damage to the police force in that region, but they've now created a situation where police officers have to defend themselves against white nationalists all throughout England. And that's a sad state of affairs. I'm sorry. Please continue.
I think when it comes to from what I've seen is the rhetoric. I think I don't. There's just too much rhetoric. Like, for example, social media is a big source of the problem we have people saying what they're saying, like Jason was saying and stuff like that. Rather than looking into it and doing a bit of research. For example, I didn't need to look on a website to see how many expats was in Dubai. I knew off my head straight away. This is because they don't want
to call them immigrants. You can't call them expats because they're just because that's another term that when white English go anywhere in the world, they're never called immigrants. They're always called expats.
You got a good point. Yeah, because that's what they call them.
If I were to go, I could never call myself an expat. If I went to Spain, they'd say
no. That's what they call them in the colleges. You know, when you're in the colleges, that's what they call them in it. So that's maybe my bad, immigrants, I should say. But so for example, I didn't need to look on there because I've done my research and study, and I've been doing a lot of studying on them coming on the boats, and I was watching James O'Brien today, and he said that you can't be an illegal immigrant till you fail your application.
100%.
And do you know what it made me think? You know, you're calling them illegal immigrants, but what he said, 70-80% get accepted. He said the 20% don't, and he said that would make, if they stayed in the country now, that would make them an illegal immigrant. So that 20% should be shipped back to whichever country. And do you know what? Yeah, a lot of these people have obviously don't do any research. So when they do come on the boats, they get put in hotels till they get the application form, and they only get like £47 a week or something like when they're here. That you can't even live on that a day.
Chris, you know that Dwella Braverman spent
Chris, you got an offer here, or brother.
Whereabouts in Leeds, there, bro? Yeah. No, it's do you know what? Leeds is a very good place to live, actually, because none of our mosques will get touched. None of the churches. We don't have any problems like that in Leeds. It's very multicultural in Leeds.
What about the sofas in the front gardens?
Well, with our new councillor Musan Ali, we've been cleaning that mess up. We've got our new Muslim councillor Musan Ali. Man, do you know what? Yeah, and big up to Musan Ali. May Allah bless him. You know. He was out there in the front line when the riots were happening, and
he was
one
putting
of my
fires
friends
out, wasn't he? He was putting fires out.
Yeah, it was, and he was telling them off. There was about 7 Muslims that I knew what was ushering them off, ushering them, and it actually stopped them. You know what I mean? Alhamdulillah. But the same old narrative, it's Muslims because they've got brown skin. It's clear to see. Yeah. We can clearly see with the rioting who the problem is. 39 police officers were in hospital that night, and they were talking about Manchester incident, but they don't take no justification. They just play victims every time, and it actually gets quite annoying, to be fair. That's why I was a bit annoyed with Jason, because he's just saying the same rhetoric that I'm listening to from, especially when you're a pastor and you're a Christian and you're meant to love Christ.
Yeah. Can I give another take on this?
Yeah.
So, you know, there's another. I had this take, so I was going to pass this take on. So, Tommy Robinson obviously left the country. He ran away, the patriot that he is. He jumped ship as soon as possible. Okay. Now, so just give a background to why did he jump ship? So, you know, I think it was 2016 or something. There was a young Syrian student who was filmed being attacked in his playground or something by some white lads, and this was sort of, you know, there was a lot of backlash. This is terrible, and you know, it shouldn't have happened or whatever. So he went on social media. Tony Robinson, whatever Tommy 10 names. He went on social media and he said that this was retaliation because this person had beaten up some white girl, beaten her black and blue, and also he had, you know, he was threatening to stab people, you know, saying all these things, and that led to a backlash against this child and their family. So people were threatening them, and he got even more bullied at school, and eventually they had to flee the area. So they sued. They sued Tommy Yaxley, whatever his, Tommy 10 names. They sued him, and because Tommy tried to represent himself, and being the sort of, you know, not the sharpest tack in the box, it was a miserable self-representation, and he got successfully sued.
Sorry, I don't say no to beef chops anyway. I'm sorry,
Cardigan Lane.
I go to the village. I go to the village in next to Edinley, so I'm up that way quite a bit. So
once he was sued, he was obviously he's now lost a libel case. He's not allowed to say the same things again. So what he's done is he didn't learn. He made a movie. He made a movie that he's not allowed to show. He was due he had to pay like £100,000 worth of fines for this. So what happened was he's due to appear in court on the 29th of when? July. So 27th of July, he holds this rally. Yeah. And he screens the movie there. Like these like giving his evidence in the movie that this child was doing all these things like beating up white girls and stabbing people.
And he uploaded it to Twitter and social media as well.
There we go. And so he gave this, and then breaking British law, the court had already ruled against him and told him this was baseless and you can't do this. And then he ran, and what happened was that he didn't have to appear in the court because he left the country after causing the stoking up the hatred so much, and in movie form telling people that you're being attacked and the police are not taking this seriously, and in fact they're going after me, and then he leaves the country.
Well, he left the country, Imran, and then on the Indian show today, he repeated the same story.
Yeah,
that this was not an innocent kid, and the police are covering it up. The Crown prosecution, the politicians are all basically corrupt. They're all wanting to cover this story up. This was not an innocent boy.
Absolutely.
Apparently.
And now this is the underlying. So he is covering his own back. He's covering his own back. He's leaving the country after causing havoc.
But where did he go? He went to Cyprus.
He's on five-star all-inclusive.
Vacation.
Absolutely. So
whilst he's enjoying the beach, while his own brothers in England are fighting with the police. Can you be a more inveterate coward than that? Sorry.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the point here is that he is manipulating the sentiment that there is a sentiment of people being disenfranchised. There is a sentiment of people not having enough. There's not enough food on the table. There's not enough money to pay the bills. There's not enough housing for people who are struggling. There is not enough for many reasons. Part of it to do was the 130 billion we gave to the banks. Part of it's to do with the 310 billion we spent in COVID, or misspent in COVID by giving it to all of the politicians' friends and relatives, and anyone who they could open a business in.
Brexit as well.
Lots and lots of corruption, money disappearing in the billions that now we're having to sort of pay back. And struggling to do that. Services being cut. Everything that they can do. Austerity. We've had over 10 years of austerity from the conservative right, and the way that politicians react to this, he's covering his back. They've blamed the people who look different as an explanation to the people who are the majority within the country. And this is where the hatred comes from. And I understand the struggle that people are going through. I'm also from a working class background, lived in council houses and flats, etc. When I was growing up, worked my way out of that. But that's something I recognize. Poverty, I've seen it. The issue here is that these people are they've taken so much of the money that it's going to be a generational thing before we can get out of this. But it's easier to say, oh, it's this brown guy who's going to try and take your cookie, whilst all of the cookies they've got in their jar they're giving to their friends, etc. And so we've got, as people who understand that there is struggle and difficulty here, we have to point the finger of responsibility in the right direction. The politicians, we've got to hold them to account. What we don't do is, if you say to people, you can't trust the government, you can't trust the police, you can't trust any authority, just listen to the raving lunatic who's run off to Cyprus to smoke his cocaine, take his cocaine and sleep around, whilst running away from a case that he's already been sued and successfully lost to escape it. He's made a movie about it, because that's what's happening here.
But Imran, there is actually now, which I was surprised about. Obviously we had the elections, and if we could get Chris's take on it as well, is we had Reform came out with Nigel Farage. So all of a sudden, and they won political seats. They sort of, Tommy, even though Nigel Farage separated himself from Tommy, said we don't want nothing to do with him, Tommy still promoted Reform, and all his supporters.
That's a part of I think this is a part of the riot.
Yeah, so. it all went there. So, but the question is, so now these guys, if you hate Islam, if you hate immigrants, and you hate all this, and you want your country back, you now have a genuine political party with seats in the House of Commons to join. So why are these guys still following Tommy? Do you know what I mean? What you've actually got a different direction to go. You can drop this guy that's, you know, taking all these, you know, like you say, what Imran says there, breaking these libel cases, racist, stealing donations, this kind of like ex-football thug. But for some reason, people still follow him. And I guess I'd like to ask Chris, why do you think people, even despite having now a valid political party to join, why do they still follow this?
Chris is just thinking about the lamb chops.
Yeah,
I'll get after this. I'll get to Jay, but it's a good point that you make, and bringing Reform UK is I think it's a big part of it, because when you see over 4 million people vote for this party, what goes against all the narrative, that's where people, I think, they've got the bravery from to come out and riot, whereas before they didn't think that many people were going to vote. I think that's where some of the bravery has come from. They think, oh, we've got a voice now. And have you seen this new picture that they're putting up, or the Lions are coming to roar and stuff like that? I think they've got all that from the Reform UK voting thing, because they feel like they see it as an achievement getting 4 seats and stuff like that. They've got in the MP. I think that's where they've got the bravery from to come out and do these riots, I think.
You know, you need different types of people in a movement. So you need both extremes. You need the really posh-looking, smart, posh-talking, calm people who appear to be very, very sort of, you know, reasonable and giving good arguments and these sorts of things. And then you need the other extreme, who are like these violent, who incite violence, aggressive, very, 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 very sort of controversial figures that actually will cause havoc in the society, because it allows these calm people to appear normal. It allows them to appear normal, because what it does is it takes your spectrum of nuttiness, like, okay, there are some really crazy people here, and then these guys actually are not bad. They're wearing a suit, and you know, he sounds, you know, he likes to have a drink in the pub, and he sort of says some of the things that these guys are saying, but he's not as bad as that, and they are attracted towards this. But what you need now is you need this sort of spectrum and the extremes. So people like Yaxley, whatever, you know, Tommy Tem names, people like that give some legitimacy, because you can say, oh, he's a very extreme figure. They give some legitimacy to the position of people like Farage, etc. And the Farage, they're very careful with their words. I just want to ask some questions. You know, Nigel Farage, you know, does he have the lower limbs of an ostrich? Now, you know, there's no evidence. This is a valid question that we need to ask, and I just want to be reasonable. But I think that the information is being withheld. We need to know: does Nigel Farage have the lower limbs of an ostrich? It's a very valid question, and I think we should be allowed to ask it. In these sorts of cryptic terms, they'll say the most absurd things, and it sounds reasonable. And this is what makes it possible is because you have the extremists on the other side who you say, well, at least I'm not like that. And what the first thing Farage did after the riots actually happened, that he knew that in my feeling that he knew this is probably going to be a consequence, is he threw Tommy under the bus, threw the far right under the bus, and that's exactly what he's done.
No, but he initially tweeted things that it has been reported that this is an immigrant or something along those lines, and he came on LBC, yes. And Tom Swarbrick was asking him, where was it reported, and he would not answer the question. Basically, what he did is he saw something on social media. I don't know, Andrew Tate or somebody said what they said, and he simply re-messaged that out. And when he was asked that, you know, do you apologize? Do you take that statement back? And he said, and he kept basically, as a politician, wouldn't answer the question, and he just said, everyone wanted to know the identity, and that's a reasonable question, but except he missed one very important thing out. In British law, if you are under 18 years old,
don't publish the name.
The default position is that the name of the criminal under 18 is not made public. Now, in this case, why the judge eventually decided that they would make his name public was he was only 1 week away from his 18th birthday. That was the first thing. And the second thing was there was already so much speculation within the general public that this was a refugee. He came on a boat when in fact he was born in Wales, in England. and he also was a Muslim, when in fact he was a church-going, choir-singing Christian. And so to defuse the situation, the judge then basically said it's in the public interest, and they then released the name. Now, it's exactly what Imran said, that they give these cryptic, untruthful, type of messages, which they know are going to play on the heartstrings and the emotions of the people that follow them. It's not going to be a logic. It's not going to be a logic-based or a reasoned-based argument. It's going to be purely pulling the heartstrings and pulling the emotional card on people who are already highly emotional. Anyway, I want to put Chris out of his misery. Chris, just give JJ your handle for your social media so he can actually take you and give you these chops that you need to eat.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
How are you, brother Chris?
Do you know what? You said that there's beef chops on Cardigan Road. I've never heard of it, bro.
Oh yeah, there's a nice place there. My sister took me there.
I think I'm quite a connoisseur when it comes to the lamb chop.
I was just concerned about you because I've seen your videos on going to the gym, and I thought, man, you're losing too much weight. I need to put some more weight back on you.
Alhamdulillah. Where is this on Cardigan Road? Is it called Chef Shabba?
Yeah, it's actually just before the Park Lane College on Cardigan Lane.
I don't know it, mate. I don't know
it. It's a brilliant place. I went there with my sister. She treated me some food there.
I'll have to trust you.
Definitely, man. Trust me. I'm going to come down in a couple of weeks' time. If I can get an email in the back chat, I'll contact you. I'm in Leeds.
Do you not have Instagram or do you have Instagram or TikTok?
No, I don't. I'm not too much on social media.
Still back in the 80s, eh?
I've got an email. That's about it. I can put that up on the back chat. And if you want to contact me,
I'll put my email in the back chat then, I think.
Definitely. Now that I'm on, Dr. Imran, Brother Ijaz, Brother Abbas, Jordan, you guys, you're next level. I've watched so many of your streams. In fact, you guys kind of got me out of my, kind of like I went down mentally a little bit during the COVID. It wasn't because of the COVID. It was just something, a lot of stress at that time. And I've been watching your streams, and I think it was the historicity streams at that time. And you guys kind of like picked me back up again, because I was really, really down for a long time during that time. And so I want to thank you for that and everything that you share. And a lot of people really need to take in the information and the deep knowledge that you guys have and that you share. And I just want to thank you for that as well. And I don't want to take up too much of your time, inshallah. I've just noticed your big lad.
Whoa.
Go on.
Don't be telling everyone.
Oh, sorry. I beg your pardon.
Forget where you are, bro. I'll have 400 emails.
And I'll catch up with you. I'm gonna send you a message on there, and inshallah, in a couple of weeks' time when I come down, I'll see if you're available, and then we'll
alhamdulillah, no problem.
And thanks, Brother Abbas. Absolutely fantastic. You're always brilliant, and I'm not going to take too much of your time. And I wish you, Brother Ijaz, from the bottom of my heart, may Allah give you Shifai Kulli and cure you from any of the diseases or whatever. May Allah bless you with a long life. You are an asset to Islam. You are something that people are going to be wanting to find you one day, inshallah. We're all going to go one day, and I'm not saying that, I wish, the best of health and that, but one day we're all going to go. But people like yourself and Dr. Imran and Abbas and all of you brothers, whatever you are putting on the media today, there is going to be a time, especially when there's going to be turmoil and people are going to be stressed and times are going to get bad. People are going to be looking for your videos, and they are going to appreciate
it. This was our intention. Our intention was that how can we reduce the fitna, reduce the problems, the anxieties that people are going through, and hopefully reach out to non-Muslims to perhaps want to come onto the show and have a discussion, so we could actually, meet with some sort of common grounds. But I was hoping that we would get more people, but it's fine. Alhamdulillah, may Allah benefit whoever managed to watch it. Jazakallah khair, Brother Jay. So what we're going to do, if in the private chat you can put your email.
He did. Sorry, no, I think Chris did.
Oh, Kristen, okay. So what Jay, what you can do is if you go into the private chat, you should be able to copy and paste Chris's email there, and then you should be able to message him, inshallah.
Fantastic. I'll do that now, and I'll save his email.
All right, brother. Thanks for coming
Thanks so
on.
much indeed for your time. I didn't mean to take too much of your time.
No,
All
that's
good.
absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine, brother. Assalamu alaikum.
It's scary times when Mr. Ajaz is in Canada and he knows more about England than most of the people here.
Chris, is there going to be any cows left in Leeds now?
No, we don't have any cows in Leeds. We have to go out of into the North Yorkshire Dales for our cows.
Yeah, but Chris, there's a reason I know. Okay, I don't pretend to know about what's going on in the UK.
Some of the stuff that you said, I've been speaking for a couple of weeks with a lot of people here in Leeds, a lot of these bloody, I don't know what to call them, but and you have your perspective is spot on compared to theirs, but.
I am. See, the thing is, I have the benefit of being a Chelsea fan, and if people
whoa! How many players have you bought?
No, I just want to point out something which is valid.
You've got a big team in it.
Yeah, we do, alhamdulillah. But Chelsea Football Club is one of and continues to be one of the most racist clubs in England. And in the 90s, the hooligans that came out of our support base, they were really violent against immigrants and anyone who was not white. And that persists to this day, right? As odd as it is. So I'm unfortunately or fortunately, I speak with people who are older than Dr. Imran, who have a long history in football, but hate immigrants of all kinds. And you learn things from them. So I just
it doesn't help it, Jazz, when your captain was a racist and they didn't apologise for it.
But I don't think he was a racist, and I don't think he needed to apologize.
He did call him the N-word.
Fake news completely. But
I've seen it. We've watched it.
News, Chris,
Rio Ferdinand will never speak to John Terry again.
Boys. Before everybody falls asleep, because you're talking about
John
football.
Terry was a racist.
Okay,
I deny that. But just quickly here, I'm confused by people in the UK who think that Muslims simultaneously are controlling the UK, and we can choose who to police when the people being persecuted as a minority are the Muslims. Are we persecuting ourselves? Are we the ones who Jason would call the globalists? Right? How can we be in control of the British government? How can we be in control of the police and not institute Sharia law already? It's not that it has to come. If Jason is correct, if the racists are right about where the Muslims are in British society, then we should already be in control of the nation. But the fact is, we're not. And that's simply not the case. So I don't know what La-La Land they live in, where they have to create an alternate reality that reflects nothing about what that on the ground. And just one more thing. The immigrants that come to the UK, let's understand something here. The only reason that they put the immigrants in the hotels, and they do the same thing in New York, they do the same thing here in Canada, we put them in hotels so that they're not on the streets doing criminal activities to live. We give them shelter and food so that they can so that we avoid a criminal problem occurring with them, right? And that's better than the alternative, having mass of people on the street who don't know the language, don't know the laws, committing crimes just to get by. So it's a good social initiative, and it's not to say because the government does not like white people, that's why it puts these immigrants in these hotels. It's for the protection of society and to maintain law and order and good social conduct that they put these people in hotels until their immigrant file cases are followed through. That's all that it is. And when you set these places on fire, where do you think these people are going to go? They're going to go on the street, they're going to rob people, and they're going to commit crimes out of necessity because they have to survive. And that's not the social climate you want to create, which is why the Tories and the Labour Party and even the Reform UK Party, they're not going to change these immigration laws and policies. It benefits British society in some way. Just one more point. I know I've said a lot. People like Jordan and Chris, they have a greater responsibility than people like Dr. Imran and Abbas and myself. Not just because you're white, not just because you're British, but because when they look at Jordan and Isa, they see themselves in you, and they see that either you're traitors or you're very intelligent people because you've been able to understand Islam, you speak for Muslims, and the community respects you. So what is different with you two compared to the other people who reject and deny Islam? You guys have a good face, you have good characteristics, you have a good history, and alhamdulillah, you're intelligent. And I think that intimidates the racists and the fascists. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Intelligent and Chris in the same sentence. Wow.
You are, Chris. The points you made against Jason to counter him was spot on. He couldn't respond. He called you a fascist. You left the EDL. It's like you divorced fascism, and he's calling you a fascist. Right? It really does not make sense. But you made a good point about the Reform Party getting, I think, 4 seats. They hoped to get more. But I'll say this, the next election that comes around, if these people were so against immigration policies and they endorsed Nigel Farage, why is it that the Labour Party ended up with more votes, more seats? It shows that the vast majority of the British people reject those kinds of salacious ideas.
Dave, are you ready to take your shahada, bro?
Dave's making a comeback with these current times.
I think for me, it's when I look back and I couldn't even spell, I didn't even know I needed glasses. I can see why some of these people actually think the way they do, because they're blinded, man, and always takes me back to the start of the Quran when I first read it, and the blind and deaf and dumb, and it's like, that resonates with me every time. I used to be like that. I can remember a time when I would argue. I'd come and sit here probably with you guys. And even when I was a Muslim, I argued points with Imran about racism and stuff that I didn't even understand. There was times, even when I was a Muslim, I've done it, yeah. And education is what takes you away from racism and bigotism and stuff. Actually looking at articles and reading books, and I'm unfortunately, you can't be a pastor if you're not going to study.
Ijaz made a really good point, Chris, in the sense that, because I jumped on your live a few weeks ago, and I don't know, there were a couple hundred people there, and a lot of these, I mean, on TikTok you get loads of the EDL coming in, right? It's like a revolving door. They come in and out, and they come in saying all this stuff about Islam, and then when they jump on the panel and talk to Chris, they're kind of like, they don't have the same energy. It's like, hang on a minute, mate, what happened? You know, you're one of us, like you're you know what I mean? And they like Chris, but they see he's Muslim, and it baffles. You can see their head just spinning. It's like, I really like this guy. He's just like the geezer from up the road, but he's one of them. I don't really understand.
And the thing is, Chris didn't change the way that he speaks. He's authentic to himself. So you have all these young people looking at Chris and saying, if this guy is so genuine, there must be something about the points that he believes in. Thing is, Chris, you're a very convincing person. Just your presence, mashallah, may Allah preserve you. You do a good job. But Jordan, you do the same thing, but with your Dave's kids, you guys are contributing to solving the problem. I have a question though. Have any of you seen the movie American History X? It's an old movie from the 90s.
Really good movie, mashallah.
Right, countering fascism, right? I think young people should watch that movie. And 2, I don't think most young people know where fascism comes from. And I'm going to make one suggestion. It's a bit odd, just work with me. There was an Italian thinker by the name of Julius Evola, right? And he was the ideologue behind the fascist movement in Italy, and this is before that Germany adopted it. If you read what he's written, I'm sad to say that even people today reading his works will be better able to identify with his type of politics than they can do with the current Labour Party. The thing is, fascism isn't new. These anti-immigrant ideas are not new, but the British people must read and educate themselves, or they will not be saved. They will not be saved.
The biggest irony is that we fought a world war against this ideology. World War II was all about fighting this ideology.
Yeah.
And you know,
people's grandfathers, people's gave their lives. They spilt their
They'd be
blood
horrified,
in
wouldn't
Europe
they?
to remove this ideology from Europe. Literally, and then what's happened now is their descendants in their descendants. Ironic, it was such a sad thing. Have taken on that ideology. It's literally like
not only that, Imran, but not only that, but millions of Indians lost their life in the Second World War fighting for the British. Germany wasn't particularly interested to rush into India, but had they crossed the English Channel through France, we would have been speaking German today. But millions of Indians lost their lives, and the front, 85%, I believe, of the front was on the Russian side, and the Russians, they lost something like, I think, 12 or 15 million. I mean, the Russians had the biggest. The Polish had huge millions, and the British, I think, had around 600,000 deaths in the Second World War. But in just the Bengal famine, 4 million Indians died because Churchill redirected the resources,
the rice out.
and he redirected to the front line. And when his ambassador said, Mr. Churchill, these people are dying, starving, Churchill wrote, serves them right for breeding like rabbits. So we need to learn from history. And there's a very interesting saying, I think it was Voltaire, who said, a people who don't learn from history are condemned to repeat it. And because I believe that a lot of us in England are not learning our history and learning just how many countries came together to defeat fascism, racism, that they're actually falling into the trap of becoming fascists and racists themselves, because they've become pawns for the politicians, as Imran explained, who are squandering our silver, squandering the wealth of this country in its tens of and hundreds of billions of pounds, fighting illegal wars that most of us don't want, supplying arms to regimes that are killing its own people that we don't want, and are giving dodgy contracts to their buddies that amount to billions and billions of pounds. And then they're telling us it's all the fault of Johnny Foreigner, who's taking your job because you want to pick cauliflowers in a cold winter morning when it's raining or snowing, when the reality is none of us really want to do those jobs. I've spoken to so many people in hospitality who are saying that companies are closing down because there aren't the labor. There's not enough people who want to do those jobs. And after Brexit, farmers and agricultural workers and hospitality have really suffered because they can't get the British people. When I say British people, my own kids won't do those jobs. They don't want to do those jobs. I mean, it's not about a white or black or Asian thing. When you're born in this country and you grew up in this country, most of our kids, they don't want to be working in a coffee shop. I was happy to do that maybe when I was young and I was at school, I was at college.
Well, you were happy when you owned a coffee shop.
No, but I worked
and serving Nescafe to your customers.
When I was at college, I worked in a shoe shop, right, selling shoes and stuff, right, for Dulcis. It was a shop called Dulcis. Now, what I'm trying to say to you is that there were jobs that I did that I know my kids wouldn't do, and I know that there are a lot of jobs that white kids won't do, and black kids won't do, and Asian kids won't do, that are brought up in this country. But people who come from Eastern Europe, they come from Asia, they'll be up at 5 a.m. picking cauliflowers for 12 hours a day because they're desperate to just earn some money, have some work.
Is it complacency? Is it complacency or laziness?
No, look, what it is, Imran, Ijaz, is that a lot of those jobs are seen, like, unfortunately, people see them beneath them. So they did a very interesting documentary where they showed a farmer who was picking potatoes, and he had to package those potatoes and send them to the supermarkets. And they did an experiment, and they got 3 young white lads. And they don't have to be white. They could have been Asian. They could have been anything. They born here, basically British lads, right? And they said, look, you want a job? Why don't we start you off on this job here? Right? All you got to do, I think it was like pack 12 or 15 bags of potatoes in each tray. This is how you stack them, because the supermarket are very particular how it should look. And one of them didn't show up in the morning. One of them showed up late. And the other one, the supervisor, she was a white lady, English lady. She said, I'm going to have to go through all of that pile again. Because she said, we did a random check. Some of them have got 15, some of them have got 13, some of them have got 12. She said, I can't, this is not how we can run our business. Okay. So there is a work ethic, unfortunately, that we've lost here. And this is why I speak to a lot of Europeans, Italians, Greeks, Romanians. They're here for 3 years, 4 years. They might start as a waiter. They might start as a bartender. They might start as washing the dishes. Believe you me, Ijaz, within 3 to 5 years, these people are managers. And they've got 15 staff under them because they're willing to graft.
Well, not just that, Uncle Abbas, but I think once Brexit happened, working visas for the young Europeans would normally come for a year or two and work in these industries was stopped. And unfortunately, British young people did not take up those jobs. So I've seen where fish factories and these things on the eastern coast of England, they have to close down because they have no people willing to fish, people willing to pack the fish, no people willing to sell them.
Yeah.
Right. Lost industries wiped out.
I dropped off a family off at a farm. They were from Uzbekistan. They could hardly speak any English, but I said, "What do you guys do here?" "Oh, we're working farm." I said, "Okay. What do you do?" I said, "Strawberries. We pick strawberries, pack strawberries, you know." And when I drove into the farm, there were all these like motorhomes, like large caravans, yeah. And I said, "Are there any English people here?" They just laughed. No English, no this job. They don't do this job.
Don't the English make fun of the travelers, right?
Yes, I'm from that community.
Yeah,
Man.
right.
I mean,
So historically,
I was speaking to a traveller over there who was protecting the other side, and I said, you know, when they kick the Muslims out, they'll be kicking you out next. I said, for many years they've spoke bad about you in many situations. So it's mad.
There's just one more point I want to make, which is we're living in a very interesting moment in world history. If you guys are aware of the American elections, there's a project called Project 2025, which is what the Republican Party wants to institute should Donald Trump win the presidency. And I think the author of that document, he's from the Heritage Foundation. He made a very interesting statement, right? Which is they believe that they're seeing the end of democracy in the world today, starting with the United States. And I ask myself, if that happens to the United States, democracy ends there. I'm not pro-democracy, anti-democracy, just hear the argument. If that were to happen in the UK, what kind of governance structure will take hold? Because Jason was right about one thing. There's a group of people who are globalists. And the thing is, whether you're white or not, you're still going to be treated like trash the moment your governance structure changes. Right?
Guys, I'm going to go because I've got to do some much. But thanks for having me on.
No problem, Chris. You get to those beef chops now. Come on.
Inshallah.
There's bloody no beef chops going in my stomach tonight.
Chris,
come on.
It was a pleasure to have you on, Chris.
Really appreciate everything, inshallah. Take care, brother. We meet soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Inshallah, we need to do it more often, inshallah.
Inshallah. Walaikum assalam. Just to end my point here, when people accuse Muslims of wanting to institute Sharia law and take control, these are the same people who are saying democracy and democratic rule is coming to an end. So I asked the white people who are right-leaning and fascists, why do you accuse us of something that you today are actively doing? Because Uncle Abbas cannot say he wants to change the governance structure of the UK. He's not allowed to say that. You say that, you can be labeled an extremist. But they're saying that now openly, and I wonder the consequences of that. They don't care if you're white or not. You will be treated like something to be stamped on when the people who have power and control get desperate and want to cement their places in their institutions of power. So Muslims should be more aware and critically aware of politics, inshallah.
Yeah. Okay, so look, we're at the end of the stream. I would have liked to have had some conversations with people who were not Muslims and had concerns about things like immigration, things like, the great replacement theories, or anything else. But I think we've had, overall, it's been a good discussion that we've had, perhaps mostly amongst ourselves. Dr. Imran, any last comments? Jordan, Ijaz, before we go?
Go on, Imran, you want to go?
Jordan, go ahead, inshallah. I'll after you, inshallah.
I was just going to say that, like you, Abbas, I'd like to have more people on. I hope people don't think, because sometimes I'm trying to tailor down my way of speaking. You know, I used to refer to these guys as Tommy Goons, even my Dave and Jeffs. I try not to. There's a certain type of people like Jason and like some other, there's some other people that are actually racist. I'm not saying Jason is, but he's the Christian side. But there are some. I'm trying to leave the door open and not insult everybody, because there are people out there, and someone mentioned in the chat actually that he has someone he works with who went to an EDL march, and he's a nice guy. There are some people just being misled, and this is an opportunity for us. Look, if they're not going to come on the stream, I don't know how many people in the chat. You all know people out there. It's probably an opportunity to go out and give dawah directly to people around you. And I think we've always noticed that the far right grow, and these in terms of Islam, these events actually backfire on them, because Islam becomes hot topic. People start looking into it more, and we see more shahadas. So you could look at this as an opportunity, and I think, look, people aren't coming online necessarily. Maybe they don't want to air their views publicly, but it's still an opportunity in private among people around you.
Yeah, no, I agree. Dr. Imran, I think, Doctor, for me, a lot of this upheaval is a consequence of a lot of foreign accounts that are instigating division in our country. And I think that for me, it's a way of deflecting what's happening around the world. And in particular, the British government have decided that they're not going to challenge the International Court of Justice, ICJ or ICC, who have issued arrest warrants for 2 or 3 Hamas leaders, and they've issued arrest warrants for the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, and I think his chief of staff of something or other. But they've issued, and originally Rishi Sunak was going to challenge the International Court of Justice, and they've decided not to, because I think it would have put them in a really difficult situation. Because if you don't respect international law, then everything starts to break down, because then the gloves are off. I mean, anybody can decide. I think there's that. I also think very, very strongly, and this is a bit of a conspiracy theory, you could say, generated by Abbas himself, but I do believe that Rishi Sunak announced the general election prematurely on advice that the Conservatives were going to lose anyway, and that if he held on another month or two, the momentum that was building with the pro-Palestinian supporters, and in Ilford here, we had West Streeting, who nearly lost to a young Palestinian lady.
So close. It was really close.
Very close. Very close. Yeah, very, very close, right? And what that tells me is that I think Rishi Sunak was told that, look, the Conservatives are over. You're going to lose anyway. You better call the election now, because if you hold on for a few months, then this momentum that's building with the pro-Palestinian, you're going to have more independents winning positions or in government. and it's going to become difficult for the government. And there's a lot of scheming and a lot of stuff that's happening around us that we all need to be aware of. White, black, Asian, all of us, because this is our country, this is our government. These are people are supposed to be working for us, and they're supposed to be helping us and supporting us. And if they're also part of the problem, and they're corrupt and they're causing problems so they can hide and conceal their corruption, then an intelligent and a patriotic person who believes in this country, believes in the values of law and order, believes in fairness and justice, and believes in this country becoming prosperous, then we should be very concerned at the skullduggery, the trickery, the lies, and the deception. We should not allow these people to use us as pawns to hide and conceal their crimes. We need to work together and build a stronger Britain, I hope. But Dr. Imran, please add anything you want to before we end the stream, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah, I'd just like to thank all of the guests that came on, all of the brothers who joined us today, Brother Chris, Brother Dowie, Brother Jordan, really appreciated it. And obviously my two co-panelists, Brother Abbas and Ijaz, really appreciated all the inputs. Remember our brothers and sisters who are suffering around the world, in Palestine, in Sudan, in Bangladesh, and anywhere else that they're suffering. Obviously things are happening here, so please be careful. Be vigilant, but don't allow people to make you afraid to do what you would normally do. But make sure if you can travel in other forms of transport where you can be safer, then do that. Try to avoid traveling late at night into large areas. Pray for us. May Allah keep us sincere, and anything good is from Allah. May Allah forgive our shortcomings. Anything bad, anything in error is from shaitan and from ourselves. May Allah forgive our shortcomings and keep us sincere, inshallah, ameen. And with that, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.